I'm calling to order the meeting of the Sacramento City Unified School District Board of Education. Madam Superintendent, roll call.
Member Jean?
Here.
Member Kayada?
Here.
Member Benjamin?
Here.
Member Singh?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you. We'll move into closed session. Thanks for being here so we can do that. All right, I'm calling us back into order. Madam Superintendent, can we start with our Pledge of Allegiance?
Everyone, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Buona dia.
That's right.
And now our broadcast statement.
This meeting of the Sacramento City Unified School District is recorded. The recording will be cablecast on Metro Cable Channel 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast and DirecTV UVerse cable systems. The recording will also be closed captioned and video streamed at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting replays Monday, January 19th at 12 p.m. and Tuesday, January 20th at 6 p.m. on Metro Cable Channel 14. Once posted, the recording of this meeting can be viewed on demand at youtube.com/Metro Cable Channel 14. We welcome members of the audience to address the board. Please complete a speaker form, which are located in the back of the room, and give them to our communications representative, along with any handouts you may have for the board prior to the conclusion of the item's presentation. Please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record. Please limit comments during public comment to items that are not on the agenda. If you do comment on an item that is listed on the agenda, we will ask you to please defer your comments until the item comes up on the agenda. And please also turn off your cell phones or place them on silent mode. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we apologize for the late return from closed session. And moving on to our celebration of our stellar student introduced by Board Member Rhodes.
All right, so today, because we have our wonderful principal from Bidwell here with us, she actually is going to come up and introduce her stellar students today. Can we give a warm round of applause?
Hello, I didn't expect to speak, but I'm happy to be here. And I want to acknowledge our 3 stellar students from John Bidwell. My name is Dorothy Rockman, and I am the principal there. First up, we have Olivia Frank. She's a 5th grader from Mr. Ramos' class. Olivia is a stellar student who excels in the classroom and around campus. She is always challenging herself and looking to further her knowledge. Olivia has a love for literature and can often be found with a book in her hands. Currently, she is reading the Iliad and the Odyssey. Olivia has always impressed her teachers and will continue to do so. Let's give her a hand. Next up, we have Andres Alvarez Vasquez. He's a 5th grader from Ms. Timmis's class. Come on up. Andres is incredibly resilient and hardworking. He always tries his best in all he does, asks mindful questions, and deepens his understanding, as well as his classmates, and includes others in all activities so no one feels left out. He is patient, compassionate, and a stellar scholar. And lastly, we have Melanie Magana Andrade. She's a 2nd grader in Miss Young's class. Melanie consistently demonstrates outstanding kindness and responsibility in our classroom. She supports her peers by modeling kind language, reminding others to use kind words such as please and may I when asking to join activities. She is always eager to help both students and staff inside and outside the classroom. She takes pride in keeping our classroom neat and organized, and her positive attitude and leadership make her a wonderful role model for others. Would any of you guys like to speak? So on behalf of John Bidwell, I'm very proud to acknowledge these 3 students who make our school a better place to be. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. So we're going to actually come down, and we have some little awards for you guys, and we're going to take a picture. The whole board is going to take a picture with you guys. Okay. So we're coming right down.
Okay.
And then we want to take another one with parents.
Okay. Parents and families, come up.
Squeeze everybody, squeeze. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I wasn't expecting it, but yes, it's been really good. Thank you.
Do we have any announcements of action taken in closed session?
Good evening. No, there are no announcements out of closed session this evening.
Thank you so much. I will entertain a motion to adopt our agenda. Thank you. And a second? All in favor? Or do we need to roll call that? Okay, all in favor? Aye. And moving on to public comment. Do we have any public comment this evening?
We do. We have 3 speakers. We'll begin with two speakers, pardon me. Caroline Nacella for 4 minutes, followed by Manuel Buenrestno for 2 minutes.
Welcome.
Hello, my name is Caroline Nacella, and I have 2 daughters at Phoebe Hearst Elementary. I'm not here tonight in my capacity as a parent, though. I'm here as an attorney and a former attorney with the government, specializing in the California Public Records Act request, also known as the PRA. The California PRA requires that government entities promptly make documents available that are disclosable and responsive to requests from members of the public. It also prohibits agencies from delaying in the disclosure of those documents. Since October, I have submitted 18 Public Records Act requests. These range from a variety of subjects, and I printed up a list of those requests, which you all have now. I also have extra copies if you want to give it to other people. Some of these requests related to communications between the union and the district regarding Mrs. Rupert and Mr. Henriksen. Some of them related to district policies and procedures regarding reassignments of teachers and how accommodations were being made for GATE students who are also disabled. Since that time, I have not received any documents for 15 of those 18 requests, and only partial fulfillment of 3 of them. I've tried to clarify and narrow my requests. I've suggested rolling productions. I've requested privilege logs and any sort of explanation regarding privilege. Even as recently as January 7th, I attempted to narrow my request to just communications between the district and the union. Instead, the district has missed 4 of its own self-imposed deadlines: November 14th, December 12th, December 19th, and January 16th. Actually, I think that's tomorrow, but I anticipate that that will be missed as well. Why I've been ignored for the past 3 months, I don't know. Is something being hidden? Are you getting bad advice from your outside counsel? Or is this simply an attempt to wait me out? But I'm not going away. There's plenty of legal avenues for individuals like me to get access to the documents to which I am legally entitled to. The thing is, I don't want to pursue any of that. In my opinion, this is a waste of time and resources for me and also for you. And at this point, this isn't just about those documents. This is about good government versus bad government. Transparency and accountability are fundamental to good government. You all have an opportunity to set an example of good government, and I think this is especially important when nowadays all we see on the news is an example of bad government who refuses to adhere to its own safeguards. You have the opportunity to demonstrate transparency and accountability, and I encourage you to do that by complying with California's PRA law. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Manuel is our last speaker.
Welcome. If you want to raise Danielle, I'll help.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Is it afternoon? Evening?
Good evening. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. My name is Manuel Buenrostro, and I'm a community member and education advocate for public education and educational equity. I'm here to talk about the district enrollment practices and the recent information that has been reported around the settlement between the school district and the Attorney General's office. I'm just here to voice support for the board and the superintendent as you seek to make improvements to the district enrollment practices, especially in several of the district schools. And I also am asking the board and the superintendent to seek to make these changes as soon as possible. A few things that I would note is that if we really value equitable access to public education, there really shouldn't be any assessments to enter into a public school. By definition, a public school should not have any of those barriers. I'm not against assessments. I'm not against those tools. Assessments are great at figuring out where we are as a system. They're great at figuring out what supports our students might need, but they're not. They are a barrier if they're used to enroll students into our public schools. In the area that I live, Phoebe Hearst is a school that was cited that is closest to me. And I just want to share some of the data points about that school briefly. At that school, only 15% of the students are socioeconomically disadvantaged. Compare that to 66% of students across Sacramento Unified School District. That school only enrolls 1% of English learners compared to 21% across the district. It only enrolls 2.9% of African American students compared to 11% across the district. Only 25% of Latino students compared to 42% across the district. So I'm here to support you in making those improvements during this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Member Singh, seconded by Member Rhodes. All in favor? Or no, Madam Superintendent?
Member Jean?
Aye.
Member Kayada?
Aye.
Member Benjamin?
Aye.
Member Navarro?
Aye.
Member Rhodes?
Aye.
Member Singh?
Aye.
Member Ibarra?
Aye. It's approved. Moving on to communications, 9.1, employee organization reports, starting off with Sac City Teachers Association. Oh. I was going to be shocked if there was no report. It's January. I think we all feel that way. Welcome,
What happened
Nikki.
to that winter break? It is long gone. Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Allen, Board President Jean. I'm Nikki Davis-Milevsky, President of the Sacramento City Teachers Association. And here we are at the beginning of 2026, and unfortunately, the lack of urgency that has plagued the district's leadership in the first part of this year continues into the next year. In the second interim budget in March of 2025, the district included a distribution of approximately $20 million from the joint SCUSD SCTA Health Investment and Trust Plan, otherwise known as the OPEB Fund. As clearly set forth in the trust plan agreement, the timing and distribution of the funds requires the decision of the Board of Trustees of the plan. Since then, despite our repeated reminders to the district, including raising the issue before this board, the district staff has refused to engage with us on this issue. Since the second interim budget in March of 2025, the district's apparent attempt to rely on this source of funding has become even more significant, now budgeting to use money from this fund over 2 years, or a $40 million amount, instead of the one-time first suggested in March of 2025. And you still haven't talked to us, the trustees, about it. We have never given our assent to use those funds, and again, despite our multiple requests, we have not been met with about it, as our letter to you, makes our position clear. If history is any guide, the district will either assert that the funds do not need our agreement and cause all kinds of labor unrest, or two, more likely, the district staff will wait until the 11th hour and then ask for the agreement to use the funds. We want to assure you that neither strategy will work. We've been raising this alarm since last year's budget, when the district staff did not come to this board with the appropriate cuts to right-size the Cerna Center administration that would have significantly helped the crisis that we are dealing with now. Basically, there's been no engagement from the district staff, and the lack of urgency is appalling. The fact that there was no report to this December board meeting regarding the progress of district staff on the fiscal recovery plan that you approved was in direct defiance of your board directive. The fact that there was no update included in this board packet ahead of this meeting is equally problematic, making it so that no one, not even you, could see the update on the fiscal recovery plan until today. After months of delays from the district staff, this board has finally adopted a fiscal recovery plan in November of 2025. Adopting the plan was the easy part, although it took a long time, unfortunately. Now the real work is in ensuring that that plan is implemented. There are timelines that have to be met in those directives if you were going to right-size the Cerna Center, and you only have 3 more board meetings before that deadline. Instead of seeing departments of the Cerna Center looking carefully at their bloated positions that have been added in the last 5 years, you have Cerna Center admins like the Health Services Department telling home hospital teachers that give direct services to some of our most vulnerable students. Admin are telling them their positions are going to be closed. At the end of the day, it is up to the district staff to follow the direction of the board. And if that direction is not being followed, it's up to the board to take action to make sure that it is. We're at that point. It is time to end the foot dragging. Being in leadership is hard. And as staff and as board members, it means making hard decisions. Avoiding decisions does not make them go away, it's just going to make them harder. So thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. SEIU? TCS? Teamsters? And UPE AFSA Local 154 AFL-CIO. Welcome. Mouthful of a title, isn't that great? Yeah. Welcome.
Good evening. A couple administrators with us. We're going to bring a couple people each time just to represent the segments that seem to be disregarded so easily in some of these decision makings. And let me just say, first off, if anyone is surmising that the fiscal solvency plan's creation was easy, it was done wrong. It should not have been easy. There should have been a lot of research and a lot of forethought into that. Good evening, President, board members, and superintendent. My name is Garrett Kirkland, and I'm the president of United Professional Educators, AFSA Local 154 AFL-CIO, representing administrators across Sacramento City Unified. I want to begin by revisiting what we raised at the last board meeting. The concerns shared then are still unresolved. In fact, for our members, they are now more troubling. Administrators showed up in force at the last board meeting to send a clear message that we matter, our work matters, and our contract matters. Our members are deeply disturbed by what we see in the district's fiscal solvency plan. Once again, it appears that the district is attempting to stabilize its budget by placing a disproportionate burden on administrators, balancing the budget on the backs of the very people charged with keeping schools functioning safe and stable during crisis. Unfortunately, we notice our members' positions in mid-management are being eliminated, but no positions in upper management are. Was that the board's intention? Let me be very clear. UPE has a valid, ratified contract. That contract is not optional. A fiscal emergency does not suspend the contractual obligations, nor does it give the district license to bypass negotiated agreements. And there are multiple elements within the fiscal solvency plan that conflict directly with our contract. This is unacceptable. These concerns were clearly communicated to the district, including to your chief negotiator and the legal counsel who represents the district in negotiations. You have professionals advising you who are fully understanding where these violations exist. We expect the board to respect the role of collective bargaining, to honor the agreements already in place, and govern accordingly. In addition, UPE wants to call your attention to what we believe is school safety issues. We do not fully understand the logic and reasoning behind why schools are no longer to use the hearing office to support school safety. We are hearing reports from our administrators of increased violence perpetrated against students and staff, and as of now, these incidents have zero consequences or support from the district office, and no alternatives have been discussed or provided to principals in meetings. We now must take it upon ourselves as UPE to check with all the surrounding districts and even statewide institutions on how they handle this. We found none that have this particular district policy. UPE would like to officially know how this decision was made, who made the decision, what was the legal basis for it, and how district planned on implementing this change successfully, absent a strategic plan. Thank you very much.
(9.2) Our district advisory committees, Student Advisory Council. Welcome.
Hello, good to see you all. Good evening, President Jean, Superintendent Allen, and of course, student member Maggie Kemper. Today, we would like to update you on the recent actions of our Student Advisory Council in the new year. My name is Owen Ngitha, and I am joined up here by Corin Calvert. I'll go into my first item today. First, students in the SAC are working tirelessly to apply thematic analysis to review each response from our over 40,000 students. We're forming our focus areas to best meet the needs of students in our district, and we're very excited to begin our grassroots organizing efforts across our campuses through listening sessions and empathy interviews at all levels, including middle schools and elementary schools. This is a novel idea. After all, systemic change is only possible when all voices are heard, not just select ones. We're thrilled to begin including more district youth in all areas of our change making. I'd now like to turn it over to my friend Corin Calvert to talk about our interactions with LGBTQ services, Sherilyn Bienvenu from Community Schools, and the Parent Leadership Conference.
Hi, my name is Corinne. Recently, we've been visited by Shanice Hendricks and August Ford of LGBTQ Services. A few of our members have volunteered to participate in their first ever countrywide LGBTQ youth conference. They'll be collaborating early next month with the next steps in the community with SCOE. Furthermore, we are using the social tool, 5 stages of oppression, to identify harmful social and emotional oppression tactics that are promoted in our district. We have identified prominent equity issues from the perspectives of our students and are working to best contribute to resolutions to these issues. We have been visited by Sarah Lynn Bienvenu from Community Schools, and she has invited SAC to support the upcoming Parent Leadership Conference, which is happening February 25th. SAC members will contribute to meaningful discussions and share personal experience from our time in community schools across the district. Thank you for your time and understanding and collaboration, and it's extremely meaningful, your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Community Advisory Committee. District English Learner Advisory Committee. Welcome.
Buenas noches, yo voy a hablar en español. Mi nombre es Nora Barraza, soy presidenta de ILAC en Luther Urban High School y presidenta de DILA aquí en el distrito escolar. Muchas gracias y buenas noches.
Good
Can we
evening.
please
My
double
name
the
is
time?
Senora Barraza.
For their report, can we double the
She's
time?
President for DILAC and ELAC too, so thank you. Señor, por favor, si me permite, podemos leerlo en secciones, ¿ok? Está bien, si lee, yo lo digo en inglés.
Buenas tardes. Presidente de la mesa directiva, Tara James, superintendente de la Lisa Allen y miembros de la mesa directiva.
Good evening, Board President Tara Jean, Superintendent Lisa Allen, and members of the board.
Okay. Mi nombre es Eduardo Gutiérrez, soy vicepresidente del Comité Asesor del Distrito para Estudiantes y Aprendices de Inglés, DILAC. Me complace en compartir una actualización sobre el progreso y el trabajo que se está llevando a cabo en nuestras reuniones del DILAC de este año.
Good evening, my name is Señor
Eduardo Gutiérrez.
Eduardo Gutierrez, and he's the president of DILAC. On behalf of the English Learning Advisory Committee, it's a pleasure to be here and tell you about the progress that is taking place with the meetings for DILAC this year.
Nuestras reuniones continúan enfocándose en fortalecer la comunicación entre las familias y el distrito, desarrollar la capacidad de liderazgo de nuestros representantes del DILAC y asegurar que la voz de los padres sigan siendo una parte esencial en la toma de decisiones para nuestros estudiantes aprendices de inglés.
Our meetings continue to focus on strengthening communications between families and the district, building the leadership and capacity of our DILAC representatives, and ensuring that the parents' voices remain an essential part of decision-making for the English learner students.
Este año, las sesiones del DILAC se han centrado en las siguientes áreas claves.
This year, our DILAC session has centered on several key focus, the following areas.
Inscripción y asistencia de estudiantes aprendices de inglés.
English learning enrollment and attendance data.
Los padres reciben actualizaciones sobre las tendencias de inscripción y los patrones de asistencia de los estudiantes aprendices de inglés.
Parents receive updates on English learners enrollment trends and attendance patterns, and we review how this data support district goals, site planning, and student successes.
Promovemos constantemente estrategias para aumentar la participación de los padres en las escuelas y apoyamos a los representantes de DILAC para que compartan la información con sus comités ELAC. DILAC continúa sirviendo como un recurso a nivel distrital para apoyar a las 60 escuelas.
We consistently promote strategies to increase parent engagements at school sites and support DILAC representatives in bringing information back to their local ELACs and DILACs. DILAC continues to serve a district-wide resource supporting all 60 school sites.
Becas y oportunidades académicas para los estudiantes.
Becas, Families receive information about scholarships opportunities.
Las familias reciben información sobre las oportunidades de becas para estudiantes del 11º y 12º grado, así como actualizaciones del distrito que apoyan la preparación académica, el acceso y el éxito a largo plazo.
Families receive information about scholarship opportunities for juniors and seniors, along with district updates that support academic preparation, access, and long-term success.
Seguridad escolar y preparación para emergencias.
School safety and emergency preparedness.
Los padres reciben información sobre los procedimientos de seguridad del distrito y cómo las escuelas se preparan para emergencias, lo que ayuda a las familias se sientan informadas, seguras y conectadas.
Parents receive updates on district safety procedures and learn how the schools prepare for emergencies, helping families feel informed, confident, and connected.
Plan de control local y rendición de cuentas, LCAP.
Local Control and Accountability Plan, LCAP.
Las presentaciones, incluidas las ofrecidas por el Dr. Eldridge, apoyan a los padres para comprender qué es el LCAP y el papel que desempeña dentro del distrito para mejorar los servicios, programas y resultados de los estudiantes aprendices de inglés.
Presentations, including those provided by Dr. Eldridge, supports parents in understanding what LCAP is and the role it plays with our district to improve services, programs, outcomes for English learners.
Preparación universitaria y profesional.
Understanding preparation for preparation for universities and professional college and career readiness.
Compartimos recursos y apoyamos a los padres para que estén preparados para guiar a sus hijos a través del proceso de planificación universitaria y profesional, incluyendo los requisitos de la A a la G, solicitudes a universidades y apoyo con ayuda financiera.
We share resources and support parents in preparing to guide their students through college and career planning, including AG requirements, college, university applications, and financial support.
Comprender la diferencia entre los programas LD y EL.
Understanding the differences between ELD and ELL programs.
Please finish.
¿Ya finished?
Continue.
Okay. Brindemos a los padres el conocimiento necesario para comprender la diferencia entre la instrucción de desarrollo del idioma inglés, ELD, y los servicios para estudiantes aprendices de inglés, ELL, fortaleciendo su capacidad para abogar por apoyos aprobados.
We provide parents with the knowledge needed to understand the differences between English language development instruction and English learner services, empowering families to better advocate for appropriate support.
Además de las presentaciones del distrito, colaboramos con organizaciones comunitarias como La Familia, quienes comparten recursos y servicios valiosos disponibles para nuestras familias. También reconocemos a nuestros representantes de DILAC con certificados para honrar su dedicación y participación constante.
In addition to district-led presentations, we collaborate with community partners such as La Familia. We share valuable resources and services available to our families. We also recognize our DILAC representatives with certificates to honor their dedication and consistent participation.
Nuestros temas de presentación están guiados por los intereses y solicitudes de nuestros representantes de DILAC. Valoramos los comentarios del público en cada reunión y concluimos con cada sesión con actividades de convivencia que fortalecen las relaciones y fomentan una participación continua.
Our presentations topics are guided by the interests and requests of our DILAC representatives. We value public comments at every meeting and conclude each session with community building activities that strengthen relationships and encourage continued engagement.
En general, estamos orgullosos del aumento de la participación, la comunicación abierta y el espíritu de colaboración entre nuestros representantes del DILAC. Agradecemos profundamente el apoyo continuo del distrito al proporcionar servicios de traducción, acceso a datos significativos y mayores oportunidades de aprendizaje para los padres.
Overall, we're proud of the increased participation, open communication, and collaborative spirit among our district representatives. We are grateful for the district's continued support providing translation services, access to meaningful data, and expanded opportunities for parents learning.
Gracias por su compromiso de elevar las voces de nuestras familias multilingües. DILAC espera continuar nuestra colaboración con la mesa directiva para apoyar el éxito y el bienestar de todos los estudiantes aprendices de inglés de nuestro distrito.
Thank you for your commitment to uplifting the voices of our multilingual families. DLEC looks forward to continue our partnership with the board to support the success and well-being of English learners across the district.
Bien. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Local Control Accountability Plan, Parent Advisory Committee. Black African American Advisory Board. Welcome.
Today, this evening, on behalf of the Black African American Advisory Board, we honor the life of our brother Malachi Smith, former BAAB member who departed this earth on January 3rd, 2026. He served our space in our district, in our space as parliamentarian. He was co-chair of our Parent Engagement Committee, served on multiple nominating committees, and he also represented us in LCAP PAC joint committee meetings when they still existed. He joined in 2021 as part of a wave of new parents and caretakers at the response or at the initiative of the task force who recognized that community organizations alone could not represent the voices of our families and students. He exemplified everything that the task force hoped to achieve because he was a grandfather and represented an often overlooked portion of our families in this district and caretakers. But beyond that, he was an alumni of this district, and he often talked about how many of the same things we were addressing existed 50 years ago. And somehow this world and somehow his time in this space hadn't beaten him down enough to lose hope and faith. He did it for his grandson, he did it for his daughter, he did it for all of us and all the other students and families that we were working and are working so hard to represent and improve outcomes for. Malachi was a connector. He connected us with Dr. Luke Wood, who's the president of Sacramento State, and created opportunities there. He was a member of the NAACP. He was a veteran and served our country. And because of Malachi, our co-chair, Charles Love, who served for 32 years in this district, joined our space, as well as Renee Wilson, who served our juvenile justice system. So he really built bridges and was willing and vulnerable enough to bring his own network and trusted our space enough that they might be able to serve our children and our families. He was very generous, invited myself and many other members into his home where he liked to display and share his extensive record collection, but also just his man cave and just show really just, what he enjoyed doing outside of this space. And he was always a good reminder of the need for balance between the fierce, constant, dangerous work of advocacy and service on behalf of others with just a little bit of self-care. And he was fierce. I don't know if I've ever met anyone who shared or exceeded my level of urgency. And I don't know if it's because somehow he knew and forebode what was coming his way, but he worked so hard, not only for his grandson, but others at every school, and pushed me to be better because of it. He really reminded me of my own dad, so there's times that we did clash, but because of that, we also always maintained a healthy level of respect for one another, even when we did not agree on maybe the path or intended goals of our work. I asked that we just observe a moment of silence for our brother Malachi Smith and keep his family in our prayers. His spirit and the impact of his work will always be a part of the fabric of the BAAB. Ashe.
Thank you. Community Schools Advisory Committee.
Good evening, President Jean, Superintendent Allen, and board members. Happy New Year. Community Schools continues to move forward with exciting and impactful work across our district. Many of our school sites are currently holding school-wide spelling bees, crowning champions, and strengthening a strong culture of academics and achievement. As you may have noticed, I provided you with a handout that highlights all the different celebrations and activities happening across all sites. I don't really feel like in 3 minutes I can actually share what's happening at 17 sites. So I have that handout for you, as well as what we're planned for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Black History Month, Lunar New Year, and pre and post Ramadan celebrations across our sites. At our Tuesday team meeting, we partnered with Attendance and Engagement, where we were trained on Everyday Pro, which is an incredible program. We plan to use the training to create targeted attendance intervention groups for our students and families in collaboration with the site teams that are already in place. One trend we noticed right away is that on Thursdays for early release, that tends to be the most popular attendance day that students miss. So we're going to work and do some listening sessions with them and figure out if it's possibly the gap between early release and what normal pickup time is, and if we can create a system to support families, students during that time and help support attendance on those days. We increased our ESL classes for our adults, our parents on campus, from one site starting at Cesar Chavez to now Earl Warren started Monday, and on February 2nd, Oak Ridge Elementary starts their class, and there are wait lists for parents to get in. And we're hoping to expand to a few other schools this year, next year, it just depends on staffing with Charles Jones. Rosa Parks has a PTA up and running for the first time in 20 years. As well as Fern Bacon holding its first ever PTA meeting on the 22nd. The LPAC at Rosa Parks is also up and running for the first time since before COVID. So that's exciting. That's kind of a trend across the sites, getting those organizations going for our collaborative leadership models and lifting parent voice and student voice. Another really exciting piece is last year during our listening sessions at Bidwell Elementary, we heard from the students that they wanted more access to the library, a full library, and more age-appropriate books, that kind of thing. And so it's going along Bidwell School. The entire staff and the district librarian and her team came in and has transformed it into this beautiful, amazing space for the students. I think that's it. Thank you for your support. Enjoy the handouts. Hopefully next month there won't be the typo. But in an effort to not waste paper. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And our American Indian Education Program Parent Committee. Okay, moving on to 9.3, student member reports.
Good evening. While I wasn't here for the last board meeting, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the change in board leadership. I wholeheartedly have faith in our board president, President Jean, to guide us as we navigate this year's challenges. Witnessing her dedication as she approaches every board meeting has fostered an open environment where I've been able to learn, grow, and feel assured of the work I do. So thank you, President Jean. Congratulations are also in tow to Board Member Kayada and Board Member Ibarra for the roles of Vice President. With this triage leading as the leading members of the Board of Education, I trust that we'll be taking large strides in the right direction and be able to be back on track. Next, a little update as to the conversations inside the Student Advisory Committee. We've been working diligently on our student analysis survey, utilizing thematic analysis per school site responses, and we've garnered over 1,000 responses so far, so yay to that. There are relatively similar worries and concerns among students who've replied earnestly in the survey, that being students feeling unsafe, witnessing students vaping, campuses being dirty, bathroom hygiene, English language support, and more. The SAC will be addressing these themes and will be choosing our initiatives carefully in order to drive change and improve our schools for our students, as they are the very reason we exist. Another SAC focus this year has been the possibility of expanding SAC further to both middle and elementary schools, and I personally will be pushing for this initiative as the student board member in order to increase youth voice amongst our district. I believe that we often overlook our younger students when in actuality we should be listening to them a lot more. Our youngest students will be within the district for a longer time, and they can provide vital feedback that can help us hold ourselves accountable, especially as we undergo changes as a result of our budget. Lastly, to touch on upcoming events, I want to bring awareness to an event organized by the Black Parallel School Board on February 17th, which is the Black Parent Involvement Day, and it's a learning event for our parents in order to boost young African American scholars' engagement. So that's something I hope everybody can check out, and that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Superintendent Allen.
Thank you. Tonight, I would like to make an important introduction before we begin our presentations. Please join me in welcoming Lisa Grant Dawson. At our last meeting, we announced Lisa's hiring as our interim Chief of Business Services and Operations. We are very encouraged that this announcement was immediately applauded by the FICMAT team during their report that night. Lisa will guide our financial operations as we continue to search for our next leader in that department. And we are grateful to have someone with cabinet-level experience at multiple Title I districts throughout Northern California. Welcome again, Lisa, to Sac City Unified. Also, while we are welcoming people to Sac City Unified, I would like to welcome the 508 families who enrolled their child in transitional kinder and kindergarten on Tuesday when applications first opened. Yes, that is tremendous. If you need to enroll your child, please still know that all enrollment applications are available online at scusd.edu/enroll. For families that need assistance, our enrollment center offers computer kiosks, scanners, and a team of friendly staff who are ready to help the application process. We have translators are also available to support families who speak other languages. Many of our elementary and TK schools are also hosting tours and information sessions for prospective families. Visit our website for more information. Also, finally, Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I would like to acknowledge our students and staff and families at MLK Elementary who will be marching in Dr. King's honor tomorrow morning, since our schools will be closed in observance on Monday. I know many of our district will be active in the community that day to celebrate Dr. King's legacy by joining a march or a service project. And in that same spirit, I want to give an important reminder about an upcoming day, like student board member acknowledged as well. The Black Parent Involvement Day is Tuesday, February 17th. It's annual. We do this every year during Black History Month. So please, please invite all parents to go. It's an exciting time. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, so for my first report, I have two things I'd like to talk about. First, I want to say thank you to the many students who have been sending the board members emails. I know we've all been had our attention drawn to some topics that they're very interested in. I believe it's part of civic engagement, and that's fantastic. I've already started talking to Member Ibarra about the ways the board can work with the students who are emailing us and our SAC to be able to get information to these folks, et cetera. So more to come on that. And then secondly, enrollment. Our enrollment practices have come under attention in the news this month or this week. And I was thinking a lot about how when I got on the board about 3 years ago, one of the first topics to hit my inbox very, very intensely was enrollment. And as we had conversations about what we were hearing, changes began to happen. And the next year there were fewer. And this last year there were even fewer. And I'm hoping that this spring there are even fewer. And I just want to give a shout out and acknowledgement to the diligent way that so many of our folks have approached the challenges we're hearing, the barriers we're hearing, the needs that need to be met, and the changes that need to happen so that our open enrollment truly is an equitable process, that we do look at the accessibility for all students, because students deserve to have their unique passions and desires and abilities recognized, and to be at the school and the campus and the programs that empower them in that journey. And so that needs to be the forefront of all that we're looking for in our enrollment practices. And thank you, Madam Superintendent, for emphasizing that we do have a lot of info on our website, but we know that's not always accessible. We do have our not constituent enrollment office to help folks. And please do reach out, because we want to make sure you have the info you need when it comes to our enrollment. And that concludes my report. Moving on to, oh, thank you. You guys make it so fun. And moving on to information sharing by board members. Would anybody like to share? Mr. Benjamin.
Yeah, so there we go. Thank you. I want to thank Mr. Gladney for speaking about Mr. Smith, Malachi Smith. When I first decided to kind of run, he was someone that I went to in the community and asked, would this be good, and could I get his blessing? It's some people that are in the community are just, they're pillars, and he was one of them. He stood in the space of advocating for public school and our kids and making sure that they get one right. So he'll be truly missed. And so I want to just say, thank him and give his family my condolences. I just wanted to bring attention to the upcoming month, which is Black History Month. And how many of you know we have a Black History Museum in the city of Sacramento, right? Yeah, and so for February 9th through 15th, the Sojourner Truth African Heritage Museum will be offering, I believe, free admission February 9th through the 15th with open daily guided tours available from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So if you get a chance, please go to the museum. It's amazing. Yes, please check that out. It's at 2251 Florin Road, 95822. I also want to bring attention to, well, first of all, let me slow down. Happy birthday, Martin Luther King. First of all, let me slow down today. Monday, we'll be celebrating by marches. One of the marches in my school board area is the one that starts at Oak Park Community Center. We call it the extra mile because it's the first mile. But we feel like it's important because it starts on Martin Luther King Boulevard, right? My mother actually started the first one. It was from Oak Park Community Center to Fruit Ridge Community Center in 1986, I believe. And so it's important. If you have a chance, please come out. We'll be marking. The march is going to, it's an original route now, so it'll go from Oak Park Community Center. They'll pick up again at Sacramento City College and end at the Convention Center downtown. So if you get a chance, please come out to network and talk, especially in the current climate that we are in the country, right, where, people are trying to erase history. It's important that we preserve those people in the community who fought for all of us. So I just want to say that, and thank you.
Thank you. Member Ibarra.
I just have an announcement. I didn't see our friends from CAC here this evening, but I know how passionate they are about engagement. And our next CAC general meeting will take place at Leonardo da Vinci K-8 School on Tuesday, January 20th. From 5 to 6 p.m., there's going to be SELPA office hours where families, teachers, and staff may meet one-on-one with SELPA representatives to ask questions, seek guidance, and receive support. We move on from 6 to 7:30, where CAC will have its general meeting. We'll feature a presentation on social emotional learning and how it supports students receiving special education services, and that's including strategies and resources for families that they can take home to use and also in school. Childcare and refreshments will be provided, and I hope that you all will invite your families that you work with at your sites to show up to this meeting so they can get this awesome information.
Thank you very much. Member Navarro. First off, welcome back. We're glad to have you.
So that's why I was going to speak a little bit about that. So my apologies. I've been gone for a few meetings. It was due to medical reasons. I was not on vacation. I was not in Cancun, I promise. I wish I would have been. But I know I owe a lot of emails to a lot of people, so just be patient with me. I'm slowly catching up. And a Happy New Year, and glad to be back. Thank you.
We're so glad to have you back.
Thank you.
Member Singh.
I was going to say welcome back, but
You did it for yourself, but welcome back. Um, I'll stop messing with you. All right. My actual message for tonight is I would just call our own board members to reach out to your committee members. We really need to get the Restorative Justice Committee going, and I think there was a little snafu on communications. I noticed an email was sent out, and then there's some RSVP issues. So let's make the extra effort to just let our chosen folks, the chosen ones, know that we would like them to get together so we can get 2026 off to a good start. I think Member Benjamin just made mention of just the current political climate of everything that's going on. It's hard to keep up. And I've been thinking about that a lot, that we all have roles, especially thinking about expecting people at the top to make changes, but here at local government, there's lots of opportunities to create change, and that's change that we can see. And I invite folks to really dig into the work that to do, whether you are advocating for something, whether you are on a committee, or you just want to show up to your school site, whether it's a PTO, PTA, school site council. I know it's really hard to get your feelings in the right place and figure out how to change the world, but if you could just help us change the district and the city of Sacramento, that would go a long way. I read something about thousands of years ago, people could only know what's going on in their village. And now we know way too much. I'm not saying I don't want to know what's going on, but we can't effectively create change in other spaces, but you can create change here. So let's start with showing up to the committees. And I will send an email out to the folks that are on mine, and then also make our own commitments to show up to some of those as well and encourage folks to get together. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to 10.1, our fiscal solvency plan update. And we welcome our new interim, Ms. Grant Dawson.
Thank you so much,
Welcome.
President Jean. I have to click. Yeah, thank you. Well, good evening, President Jean, Superintendent Allen, the Executive Board, and our Student Board Member, Ms. Kemper. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come and support you during this time. I will say, excuse my voice is not as strong as it normally is. Due to something or someone stepping on my literal chest, and I've been trying to get rid of it for the last couple of weeks. So with that, please do excuse the weakness of my voice, but I hope the tone and the volume is good enough. We wanted to come and provide the fiscal solvency plan update, which was already on your agenda prior to me coming. And I want to start the conversation that we're having today with this update with a few things. One, this is a very challenging cycle in time. What I want to believe is that you are the board, and this is the time for you to go through this, because I believe in your history, you've had multiple instances where you've touched upon these particular areas, and due to several circumstances, whether it was the pandemic, which provided in an unfortunate situation a lot of resources that therefore the district was able to make decisions on, or previously when the new funding model came to the state of California, the local control funding formula. And during that entire time, all districts, all county offices still had to watch and prepare and maintain for what the future would be. And that always was sustainability. So with that being said, I am here to go through this with you. This is your district, this is your community, and it is my very intent that as we go through this, that the collective effort of the entire community be part of this process of going through this solvency plan. It is very natural for people to seek to point fingers and have conversations about what didn't happen and who didn't do what. You're past that. We're here now, and we're here to work through this together. And so it is my expectation that we work through this together. It is my expectation that we hear and we provide the opportunity for feedback. It is my expectation that we work through this in a manner that will be fitting for your students that are in TK and K today, the 508 families. 3 to 5 years from now, they will have the stability that you didn't have the last 3 to 5 years. That's my expectation if we work through this together. So as we go through the fiscal solvency plan, many who are in attendance or are watching have been watching this steadily. Others maybe just be joining. And so as we move through this agenda, and again, I do not and will not be reading all the slides because I do know that in Sacramento City Unified, literacy is up. So therefore, please follow along as we move through. So this just provides you a slide with where you've been, the calendar dates, and the summary activity of what you discussed. So in what seems like a long period of time, but really is functionally a very short period of time, you developed, along with your business team, your cabinet, and other departments, a fiscal solvency plan. One of the things I wanted to point out that, again, will be something that I seek for us to work on together is the goal when the November 20th plan was adopted stated that the fiscal solvency plan and reduction thresholds will support the district's ability to maintain required reserves and avoid further intervention. So I'm reading that statement, and though we won't engage in this tonight, there'll be opportunities for us to think about this going forward. I do think that there are additional considerations for the district to consider about what this is for you. This is more than a plan to stop intervention. This is more than a plan to keep the county and the state from taking over the district. This is about how ultimately you do education. The money supports the plan for how you plan to educate students. We're having a conversation about finances, but this conversation is really about your programming and how you develop your pathways for educating students TK through adult. That's a different mindset. And it's the only way to go through this because you can keep cutting around and cutting things and reducing things. But if it erodes the very quality of the education that you seek to provide and you have to make more significant decisions, that is the work. Okay, so as we're looking at what the current goal is, the offer is to think about what would you like the goal and the plan to specifically be. The cabinet will also be providing some instances. I just provided some framework that's broadening what this really is about because it's beyond just fixing the fiscal situation at the moment. That won't get you to sustainability, okay? So where are we going? So there were 2 years worth of strategic implementation goals that are seeking, by using the multi-year projection, to provide the district with enough resources to make reductions. The careful component of how I want to present this is that I am not here to judge this plan. What I am here to do is to help you develop a plan that will be operational and that you can strategically see, how are we going to do this? Many of the things that are listed aren't as clear, and we'll go over a few examples. Some of them are quite clear, and we've already seen areas where we can implement. So there is work to do. Did receive and started reviewing some of the communication from the county as well, and often also FICMAC was here the last board meeting. The plan needs to be strong, and it has to be able to be operationalized. And so we have the list of what the goals are and what the total amount for the first year. So this year, meaning there's mid-year adjustments, mid-year reductions, and changes operationally that you've committed to. But some of those things won't be able to be realized. So not having all the context, if you will, about the OPEB transfer, I would say, with day 3, this conversation about that particular area, not sustainable for multiple reasons. It's primarily because of where the money is sitting. It's not because are there other resources, which you should do, to see how can you use that. But it would be a one-time, not an ongoing implementation. Because once you utilize, if this was, a primary source to utilize this money one time, you still have to have a sustainable plan for that 20 million to continue, and 20 plus, right? Because costs continue. So although we're not planning to recommend to you formally tonight, when we come back in February, which we'll get back to in a later slide, it would be recommended that there are adjustments to this plan to include, and just really wanted to highlight this one as one that we could take off the list. Okay, and it's due to, again, operationalizing, and the very purpose of this resource is very specific to your retirees and us being able to have the resources to pay for it. Lastly, there's already a gap, right, between what you need in that fund and what we have in that fund. And so that will create a challenge for you, not knowing not only how to have the 20 million for your ongoing budget, but how you're going to pay that back. Okay. So just to highlight a few items from this year, we talked about the first option. One of the areas that is on the 25-26 and 26-27 list is about blanket purchase orders. So for me, and talking to many of the team members about what did that mean? What was the scope of that? How were we going to operationalize that? So first, blanket purchase orders are a very standard and strategic use of purchase orders. There are multiple departments that will use blanket purchase orders because of the type of work they do. Because imagine you doing multiple purchase orders throughout the course of a year, that slowing down not only the operational practice, but if we've budgeted for it, we understand what we're doing, and then we have various agreements to include cooperative agreements with certain price points, a blanket purchase order becomes a very strategic method for any organization to utilize. We don't use blanket purchase orders for everything, though. So when we say we weren't going to do that, I'm not clear on what that means, because it ultimately would mean major changes in a lot of the departments and divisions that you can't implement in this current year. The purchase orders are already created. It means that if you stop the blanket purchase orders, for instance, you would ultimately say, okay, so from this point on, we're going to create either multiple purchase orders for the purchases that we're making. Are we doing that by quarter, by month? You have to be able to plan for that. Otherwise, it'll slow operations down. How will you feel that when different parts of your organization are saying, we don't have the materials and supplies that we planned for? They're not here. We can't do the work. We can't implement the various activities. We can't maintain the custodial support. We can't maintain nutrition support. And so that creates another conundrum that would be an unintended consequence for that. Have I begun to review perhaps what this was about? I think I'm close. And I think it really was about, based on talking to a few of the team members closer to this, including our purchasing director, this was really more about what happens in the spring with, I'll call it, fire purchasing, where we send out a communication saying, all right, we're getting ready to close out requisitions and POs, and then all of a sudden a flood of expenditures come in. And so with that being said, that is something for us to be able to work on. And I'll just say here publicly, the philosophy about purchasing things in the spring means that the students for 25-26 did not get the benefit of the budget for 25-26 when we do that. That's culture change. That takes time to implement and to do. But will we be able to see upside from not spending or not spending as much? To implement something like that, it means you still would have to reduce budgets. And you'd have to consider, well, what are we doing in the spring and the summer that we would normally purchase things for during that year? So just to kind of give you the framework about what those conversations would look like to implement it properly, that's an area that we'll keep digging into and come back. I'll go to the 1, 2, 3 sector goal section where we talk about freezing of positions. So the third bullet says identify and close non-represented vacancies. So that action has occurred, and I believe came to the board between October and November. There's another line underneath that says freeze hiring of non-classroom positions. So a statement like that in strategy is too broad. And I think the clarity about what do we mean, which positions are we talking about when we're saying non-classroom positions. And so that's an area that we definitely want to come back with what is, at least in this moment, believed to be understood, but we need to be clear on that. Why do we need to be clear on that? So that if we freeze a position or freeze positions or don't make movements in certain areas, that's not what we were talking about. We were talking about this and not that, again, leading to confusion and therefore not being able to operationalize this. So that's an example of needing clarity about what we mean about freezing the hiring of non-classroom positions. Because there's a lot of non-classroom positions. We need to be clear on what we were talking about. That also is being clear on, does that mean all funds? Are we talking about just the unrestricted general fund? So things like that we definitely need to come back to so we're on the same page. And then we're not creating additional confusion. I don't have it listed here, but on the full document, because this is just a snapshot of the top section, there was also an emergency section, you may recall, that was in red from the original document. And we have reviewed some of those emergency scenarios. And so one of them was a strategy of using furlough days. So though we're still working through the details of that, there will be a letter that will be going out. Those furlough days, based on the language that was adopted, was specific to confidential management and unrepresented positions. So several of the areas that you have highlighted are specific to some implementation in areas of that group of your professional workforce. And so with that being said, there will be a communication that will be going on about furlough days for 25-26. And so there's a recommendation at this point in time for 3 furlough days. Operationalizing that is still going to be a challenge. The board has asked for it, you've adopted it, but this is mid-January, and so all of the components that have to go into that, your understanding of what the impacts of that would be, employees being able to make decisions about what they're going to do and which days they're going to take off, and what additionally is going to happen as it relates to that. So this would not be the time for you to say, how come someone's not calling me back because? How come I'm not getting a response because? Because we've made this recommendation, and so we have to get prepared for what that means and how we support not only the employees that are affected, but the areas that they're responsible for. That's an expectation that the board should be prepared to have. And if you're not, I hope that by the time we meet again, that we will have that understanding about what that looks like and what that needs to look like to support the district. Okay, because it doesn't mean the operation is stopping. It means that there will be modifications to who will be present throughout the school year. So when we move to 26-27, again, there's several goals that were summarized. So there were listed items, but then there was a summary at the bottom of the table, which the table starts here and then it continues on. So the last time I believe this was posted was November 20th. And so there's 26-27 enrollment decline. So again, it just says enrollment decline. So an enrollment decline would mean that there would be a loss of revenue, assuming that the perpetuity of attendance is also declining, right? So if you're losing students, then you're also losing attendance. So it didn't articulate what the actual strategy was regarding enrollment decline. So for instance, it doesn't say that due to enrollment decline, you would expect what? Reductions in allocations, because most of the allocations to school sites as well as other positions that are supporting schools are based on enrollment, right? So there's several positions and several program and actions that are based on enrollment. So what that 8 million and how it was supposed to manifest itself in the budget was not known, but these are again other areas that we're unpacking. You're hearing me give you scenarios about what that would look like. So we'll come back with more details about what that projection would look like. And again, as we're in budget development, how you would see what that impact is. The second bullet on reducing salary costs has definitely been something that the cabinet has been working on prior to my arrival. So again, the reductions, and as you heard your administrators speak about as it relates to reaching this number, and it was also pointed out prior to the pandemic, if that is indeed the goal, I can tell you that your leadership team has been working on this very challenging, right, in so many different ways area. And so with that yield, all of that's happening during the budget development process. So as each of the departments and sites are receiving their budget development allocations, they therefore are making decisions to meet this goal. What is missing from this solvency plan, in addition to some other things that I think are important for the robustness and for the understanding of year by year how you get here, is what the impact statements are. So again, you have to understand that when we make the changes, the community has to understand when we make the changes, what is the impact, so that we're clear ahead. Doesn't mean that other things may not happen once we implement it, but that we're going into this eyes wide open and clear about what those elements are, so that again, we can be responsible for not only the what we did, but the why, and then what are the other outcomes. Lastly, the 20% allocation is also part of the budget development process as well. So every department, it has been asked to, once you make whatever reductions to your staffing based on the administrative reduction, then there's also a 20% reduction in your budget. That again will need to come back with some framework of impact statements, because again, what you've been accustomed to and what you're about to enter into is very different. And so we want to make sure that you're really clear about that, and that again, you're providing the support to the district based on that visioning and how that will progress. So again, we'll come back. Again, this is just the list of the items that were listed there. I won't articulate and kind of unpack one of the areas as I did before, but it was just a model for you what we've been walking through. And so as we look at next steps, we will be coming back with, we will be coming back January and February. We'll be continuing to work on the preliminary adjustments during budget development. In February, we'll come back again with an update not only on this plan and in progress, but also pointing out some areas where we may not yield what was originally presented. And or we may need to, as we talked about, if we are eliminating an item, we need to develop another strategy on how to replace that. I did get, and Superintendent and I received the first interim letter this afternoon or evening. So the next board meeting will also share that with the board. And I'm sure whatever the protocol is and how that letter is discussed, we'll talk about that. The county also did, once again, opine about their feelings and sentiment in review of the fiscal recovery plan. And now that the fiscal advisor has been established, whom I've worked with before as well, what that support to the district will be in really ultimately ensuring that not only are you successful, but you're comfortable with the ownership of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and being able to explain everyone in the room and those not present why we had to make the decisions that we made collectively. Because again, you are a unified school district, and so therefore operating in a unified manner is critical. Otherwise, you may just change your name. But since I know you are a unified school district, we want to make sure that we're moving in a unified way, which doesn't mean we agree. It doesn't mean we don't have the same thoughts and ideas and the things that we're sensitive about, but we have to take action together in order to get through this. So I thank you for the time. I will yield the floor back to you, President Jean, and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Do we have any public comment?
We do not.
Okay. Any board discussion? Member Singh.
First of all, welcome, Lisa.
Thank you.
And I'm going to try to, I know I can't ask too many detailed questions just yet because you are new, but and you were not here when I held up pieces of paper last time. But I guess all I'm really asking, and what I'm asking from staff and your team, is for us to get consistent updates moving forward. And I asked for this last time, but of showing progress of where are we. I think a lot of this we understand. We've said that this is what we need to do, this is what we need to get to, and kind of agreeing with some of the commentary that we've heard from community members and staff members and other folks. We got to move quicker, right? We've seen what happens when things don't work out, and I know that you have that experience from other districts where if you don't follow the plan, things don't work out, we are powerless, and I don't think this board wants to be powerless. So in that sense, I do want to know, and if there's anything you can provide on the progress thus far. I know that it says here that update the board in 2026 on the progress. If there's anything that you can provide us in further detail on said progress would be great. And just to confirm on the first piece, we're saying, this slide, back.
Which one? This one?
Yes.
Sure.
Just to be clear, we're saying that we would, right now, we're saying these strategies would get us to 71.2 is what we're saying, correct?
That is what you have approved.
Correct.
That is not what I'm saying.
Okay.
And I say that because what I'm sharing with you is that you do have several items on here that will not yield what either is projected, or especially by year, you are not going to be able to operationalize it to the degree that it states. Or when you look at, for instance, the remove single-use printers, discontinue ink and service, there is something you can do about, as an example, modifying what's available, for instance, for purchase for Office Depot list. So this would be, instead of going brand, going generic, as an example.
Sure.
And you would save X dollars per cartridge. But to implement removing copiers and printers, how do you do that? What happens to the printers? What's the threshold? What is the parameters for then what's available for use for work to continue? That takes some time to plan with a district this size and the number of printers as well as equipment that you have. That's an example of that. So it may not mean that we can't do it in the future, but you need a plan to be able to operationalize it. Otherwise, it won't manifest the amount. There's an area that talks right above that about delay the purchase of Chromebook refresh. So thanks to your CTO and his brilliance, we are able to delay any Chromebook refresh due to the inventory that we have, and based on the replenishment cycle, that is very possible. And so that's one that's solid. The question would be, okay, how many years do we anticipate that we'd be able to do that? Is it a 1 year, or could we do it for 2 years? And so with that, that's one that definitely is executable. And so back to the details about what that would look like, what's the forecast of how long we would be able to continue that, and when would we need to place back in the budget the purchase for Chromebooks? All of that is part of that whole packaging. Otherwise, if you don't put it in the future to understand when you need it, you can't plan for it. Does that help?
So, yes, I understand. I understand that. What I'm trying to say, and thank you for that, what I'm trying to say is that we do need to move quicker. We do need to move quicker, right? And I also think that the important piece here is those are the details that I don't think we do get involved in. You know, I'm not here to figure out if we're using generic or name brand HP printers or compact or whatever's out. I can't believe I said compact, just aged myself. But the point is, some of these things in here, I agree. For example, we're looking at investigating options for attendance recovery, right? I think for me, it's just about a timeline. Like when do we think we'll know what your department is thinking on implementing this? How quickly can we move is my ask again. And if it's not an ask, it's a request that we move as quickly as possible. And just to hone in on this options for attendance recovery, I will just put it out there. I'm not speaking of any other board member, but attendance is the greatest place to recover funds, right? We have a district where, for many reasons, students don't show up sometimes to school. And that seems like a low-hanging fruit space for me, where I'm like, hey, why don't we put some more effort into getting people out there to talk to folks, to talk to community. A lot of us have worked at school sites. A lot of us have been teachers. I mean, you know that sometimes you got to make that extra phone call or have staff look into it. So I guess what I'm saying is, in order for us to get to that number that not you're saying we need to get to, or we said that we're going to get to, it is going to require us to look at all of these things.
Absolutely.
And I just want to move as fast as humanly possible to get us there, because time is moving really, really quickly. And that's not pressure on you. It's just like what you walked into. So I'm just being very honest that we need updates.
Wonderful. And so the updates will come in addition to the recommendations. So when we say we need to move as quickly as possible and back to, my department, what I want to share is that that's part of this recovery plan's gap. You've not identified all of the departments that it takes to pull together. That example you just gave, perfect example. There are 4 different departments off the top that I can name that are responsible and would be part of that strategic plan that needs to be written and developed on how you're going to work on student recovery. It does seem easy. It does seem like it's something that can materialize really swiftly. Fortunately, we do have some leeway where, based on the LCFF calculator, we're able to use the average attendance, and so therefore we're getting a little uptick, but it does require multiple departments and roles to be able to execute that. So moving as fast as possible, I get, but I also am saying that it will take all of us collectively to focus on these areas, and so that's what not only are we talking to and through, but when I talked about the impact statements of where we may be making reductions in different places, that is going to matter too, because come next year, there'll be less staff. So we still have to figure out how to continue it. So I hear you, I'm with you. And so with that piece, again, it's going to take all of us to go through it and to continue to make sure that we're prioritizing this within the hours and days that we have. So thank you for that. And I look forward to your energy continuing to push that. And I'm with you on that process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Member Kayada.
So I'll probably be a little unpolished here because we didn't have this. We got this an hour and a half before the board meeting. I got here about a half an hour early so I could kind of sit through the PowerPoint. But I do feel like it is a disservice for us and our community not to be able to spend more time, because it feels like, yes, this has been a short time we've been developing this, but it's been a long time in a lot of ways when you're dealing with an urgent crisis.
Sure.
Meeting after meeting have gone by, and it feels like we haven't really started digging into this yet. We've been planning to plan. And I'm hearing a little bit, and I'm hoping I'm misinterpreting what you're saying, but it sounds like we're talking about making these corrections for the next budget year when we need to make them like last calendar year.
I appreciate that. So I agree with you in the spirit of the timing of planning and then executing it. What you're hearing me say is many of these areas for 25, 26, because there isn't a document or a full strategy that was provided on how we were going to do it, and what it was going to require. What you're hearing and hearing your board members say is that time is of the essence to move that forward. So I agree with you. I agree that what the fiscal recovery or solvency plan would also look like is that articulation. I can't refrain about what that was, but we're here to do it now. And we're here to move on it as swiftly as possible and as accurately as possible. And so with that being said, I agree with you. We're talking to the superintendent and cabinet about how we're going to move through these particular areas. And so since I've been here, day one, that's exactly what we've been doing and trying to find where the details are, or what the strategy is, or what's something already developed. And so I wholeheartedly agree with you. in that area, and that's why I want to be very upfront about what we're looking at and what we want to be able to see that is operational. We still would have to come up with a plan and a strategy. So that doesn't go away, whether all or some of these things aren't executable in 25, 26, which is why we're moving with the swiftness. And with this, this presentation, there was, discussions about what we're presenting and how we would do so, and wanting to get to a certain place to be able to respond to updates. We started budget development just a few days before I came, and then we're in day 9 at this point in time. So I hear you. I understand what you're saying and what those concerns are as it relates to the crisis, and so we're hoping again to move a lot swifter and being able to navigate through this list and being able to, like I said, execute and operationalize it and be clear and upfront about what's possible, or if, yes, we need to look at this particular strategy for 26, 27, but here's something we can do for 25, 26. And I'm still navigating through those details to be able to make those recommendations as well.
Yeah, and I will say, I've been, since I got on this board 3 years ago, banging the drum that it's time to finally fix the culture of this district that doesn't watch our budget when they act, that isn't willing to challenge previous ways of doing things, and we have restricted funding that's moved over to unrestricted, and we just let it happen. That is obviously critical, but I think that doesn't negate the fact that the precursor to all this was an immediate cash crunch. And if we don't fix 25, 26 problems now, we're going to run out of cash, and we're in insolvency before we can even worry about our long-term structural deficit. So, I'm frustrated because I think some stuff is happening, but, it's interesting. Community comes out to me and they're like, hey, man, you're the financial expert on the board. What's happening? And I don't know, because I'm not hearing it, and I know if I'm not hearing it, the rest of the board isn't hearing it. Our community certainly isn't hearing it. At the very least, I would expect, our classrooms to be fully stocked with adults right now because we've moved people out of Cerna, and that easiest thing to do hasn't even seemed to happen yet. And it really is challenging because we are trying to control this, but we don't have time for people to have their little political battles about who's going to get cut. It's time for everyone who works in this building to put their hand on that third rail and let that current pass through them. And that's not happening. People are going back into their corners. That's all I've been seeing in the past 3 months. And you've been here all of 2 weeks. So I'm not sure how much of that you're seeing. I do agree with your sentiment that we can't focus on the past, but we also need to acknowledge that the way people are approaching things is built on this culture that this board is trying to change. I've said to a couple of people, looking apart to some of your work in your past and other districts that I've seen, is often you see staff coming to the board saying, we have a plan, you need to commit to this plan, you need to do it, we are here for you. And the board saying, no, it's hard, community doesn't want us to do that. But in this case, it feels like the opposite here. This board is ready to politically stand in the winds and make these super difficult decisions, but our staff aren't willing to let us do that. And I'm not putting that on you, but you're the one standing in front of me right now. We need to fix that. The other thing I will say is when we've been dealing with these in the past, as you mentioned, this is not new to Sac City. We've had a lot more public transparency. We've had, fiscal solvency websites. Here's the plan. Here's the progress. That would be my ask for today, was that needs to be a #1 priority, that we start doing that, because the community needs to know what's happening. It's one thing, as Member Singh mentioned, enrollment, attendance, that's all ways to get money. But if people are actively pulling their kids out of our district right now, people are actively looking for other schools right now for next year, that's going to hit us much harder than the $90 a day we can get by getting someone to show up for class. I think another thing that wasn't in this presentation, and the board is once again willing to touch these political sensitive areas, but several of us have mentioned, our facilities are underutilized. That's not something we need to deal with 3 years from now. We need to start talking about that now. I know that needs to start offline before we bring it up here, but we haven't talked about it yet. We've mentioned it. The board's mentioned it. I haven't heard anything back from staff. That's something we need to talk about. We need to be honest with our community about all the fixes that need to happen. Because yes, part of the fixes are some highly paid admins at Cerna Center need to be employed in other capacities. But also, we're all in it together, and we need to understand that we are not as large a district as we were 10 years ago, and our district needs to show that both in our staffing and in our facilities usage and in our footprint and the services that we provide. See, I think one thing, an immediate ask again for the next update we get is I'd really like to see, I don't want to be too specific, but in my mind, I'm thinking like a PTA fundraiser. We're trying to get to $20,000, not at my school, trying to get to $5,000. We're at 1,000 now. We're going to 1,500. I want to see a bar towards how are we getting towards that 70 million that we need to accomplish. And it feels, until we start seeing like, we took this action and it saved $1 million. We took this action, it's done, it's committed to. That's for me what I need to know to see how far along we are, because it all feels much more abstract than I'm comfortable with, given that we're months into this fiscal plan. And then, I guess, I don't know, Member Jean's going to mention it at some point, but we're trying to take control both publicly, but also get more into the weeds than we've been before, because this board is trying to take control. And so, I know we've now met for an hour, and this is the longest we've talked. But, I'm ready to do that work. I know Member Benjamin is ready also. We're going to, be your best friends, because we're going to get into this. And I think this board has made it pretty clear that we can't just sit back and kind of let this happen. We're going to be in it to make sure that we are spearheading the change of the culture in this district. And when people come up to me at Bel Air next time, I can say, hey, I know what's happening because I'm in it. And this is a part-time, basically voluntary gig here, but I'm going to be spending, 15, 20 hours a week working on this budget with our staff. So.
Excellent. You mentioned some areas that I would, so again, just, how you do schools, there's only so many parameters, right? As a public school district, there are things on the list that normally in this course would be there. So your facility use, your footprint, those type of things, and where those parameters are. So those are things that I'm speaking of, as well as other things that we definitely need to talk about and engage about. What does that look like? Where are the tensions? Where are the concerns? And so all these things aren't easy, right? It really just gets to the core of who we are and the history. And again, you don't have as many students like many school districts in California. But if we don't have those conversations about all of the things, then we won't get to the right strategy that local control affords you to be able to do. So I agree with you. That's where we need to look at other areas that are not here. Maybe there were some things in the past that, again, I haven't been able to pull yet that came off a table or were discussed up to a point, but that is the work. And so I appreciate you saying that you're willing to work through those pieces and that dedication. And Member Benjamin, I heard your name called too. So with that being said, thank you. And you will see many of those areas in more detail. Because again, with each of the lines, right, you don't have the texture. That's the point. There's a round number there, but there's no texture by line and how it affects the whole thing. That's what we be expecting to bring back. That currently, I have a draft of a document that's there, and then finding where's the source of truth for each of those areas and the projected number that was there. So that's a big part of it for me to understand where it came from, for us to be able to move forward on it and then be able to analyze and assess it. Okay. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, it does. And as you were talking, I was just looking down on the notes I was making before, and I wrote down kind of in large letters, there's the risk that SCOE called for before is that we have a change in staff, a change in your position. And I was thinking, wow, they were very right, because you're coming in with a plan that someone else developed, and it sounds like you don't agree with all of it. And that is a risk. But I also, as you were just speaking for the past 2 minutes, was making another note, which is that that's an opportunity, because you can bring new stuff in that we didn't consider yet, and we have the plan, we have to commit to it, but that doesn't mean that the box is closed. Where everything is on the table.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I appreciate your commentary about you're speaking to me because I'm standing here. I do follow the four agreements. I don't take this personally, right? I do take my profession and what I do very personally, so I don't. And you should have that passion, and you should have that emoting that happens because this is very serious. So thank you for pointing that out, and we'll continue to work together.
Member Ibarra.
I'm going to spare us time and not repeat what we've already heard Member Kenyatta and Member Singh say this evening. But I will say, and this commentary is more for us as a board, leaning into some of the conversation that you brought up around increasing registration and enrollment. I think that as a board, we need to be thinking about how we are going to be part of that process and what that looks like. I will share that I've had some pretty good conversation with Member Benjamin here about what that looks like in our area specifically, and we've entertained the conversation of what would it look like for us to explore a climate survey that is specifically around asking families about why they're choosing to go to charter schools or leaving the district, while also taking the opportunity to canvass as we push for this climate survey, right? To take that opportunity to invite families back to our district and give them the many reasons why we think they should give us that second chance. I don't know what that would look like, but I think that as we're also asking our staff to do some pretty challenging things so that we can make this situation better, we also have to consider the sacrifices that we are willing to put on the table. And I think that's one that would make most sense, and we can get most out of our time investment to have a direct impact to something quickly, hopefully. So I invite you to just explore that thought that I've already shared with one of our board members and start thinking about what that looks like collectively moving forward. And also bringing in our partners to help us grow our registration, and what does that look like? Who are those partners, and what kind of commitments are we going to ask them to also bring to the table?
Thank you. Member Rhodes.
I'm going to cut my comments in half, actually. I'll just do two things, and it just helped me clarify a little bit. Sound like two things are happening here. When I first heard and saw this, a little bit disturbed by the presentation because the appearance of lack of action. But two things that I see that are happening, there's two things. There's a now that's going on, and then there's the ongoing conversation. Now, a lot of the changes that you're proposing are being proposed because of the ongoing situations that we're talking about with our finances and the projected work of finances. Is that correct?
It's current and ongoing, yes.
Okay. And then there's the very palpable and right now issue of running out of funds by a certain time. And so I'll speak towards that because I think a lot of people have spoke to the ongoing work. The action of now, we have to do the hard things now also, so that we don't have the hard things done to us. Correct?
Correct.
And so I want to urge and put some urgency on district staff, urgency on our superintendent, and everybody in space. One of my biggest worries that I have, and it's a constant struggle, but it's a real one. The want for the system not to do exactly what the board says, and the wanting to circumvent board direction by asking, well, what did you mean by that? After we already put the plan forward and saying this is what we want, and for you guys to operationalize it. My biggest caution to superintendent and her staff and the district as a whole is that we drag our feet, or that we try and circumvent because of not willingness from systems to make those big decisions, that we continue to try to plan around them to cushion how staff and system might feel. And I just want to put that out there because that's what I'm feeling in the space. That's what I felt at the end of last year as well. There was constant questions around after we've passed something. Well, hey, what does the board mean by this? Does the board really mean this? And those are conversations, behind the scenes and things that are happening. But at the end of the day, there's a now urgency, and there's the ongoing urgency. And I want us to move with the urgency of both and the clarity of we have to get something done, or else it's going to be done to us regardless if we like it or not. And I just want to put that out there. Our colleagues spoke very eloquently around the issues and how they felt. And I would say I felt the same things, but I also want to give system a little bit of benefit of the doubt, even if I'm having a hard time. And I want to believe that we're going to be unified, like you spoke about earlier, towards a goal. My main goal about representing the constituency I represent is that we do not go into fiscal insolvency, and that the area that I represent that's historically left on the margin. Now, I know you're new in Sacramento, but I figure you got a grasp of the areas. I represent an area that doesn't have pockets of wealth in it. I represent an area that historically continues left behind. I represent an area completely that has some of the lowest outcomes and also lowest socioeconomic areas of the city. The fiscal insolvency will impact us most. And I just want everybody to go into this like, there's a real urgency here, and we want to do good, but we have to do good better and faster. And so I would like to see, going forward, more action. He spoke about it, but like, we want to see, this is how much we've been able to cut. This is what we're working on and what is going to take longer, but this is what we're doing. I think that's going to be beneficial. I think that you're more than qualified, or else you wouldn't be here. And I look forward to working with you and working with our board so we can really feel that unified, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate it, and I'll give my time back. Thank you.
All right, I have 3 questions for you.
Okay.
The first one, I think we already know the answer to, but I am going to ask it. Are we on track this year?
On track for
The cuts we have to make this year so we're not out of cash in June.
At this time, I would say for 25, 26, no.
Yep.
No. And so if I can piggyback on going back to when I'm asking the question about what is this and what does this mean, I anticipate that most of these recommendations were presented to you. There may have been some process also for what are you thinking? Don't know and don't have time to go back to all the videos, right? But when I'm going through these areas and looking at the specifics, it's to get clarity about what the action is, to know where to go look for where we're supposed to make a reduction so that, or adjustment, we can come back with, it was this, it's now this, because this is where we affected that change. It's really that. And I understand the concern about circumventing. I haven't experienced that, and I don't think most people are trying to impress me in any of their, communication about certain things. But there's truly areas people don't know. They weren't necessarily part of certain conversations. The cabinet has been amazing. I have been just, do you remember, and what did we talk about? And they're pulling their notes and their data as well to pull that together so that we can do that. So with that being said, no, I do not see that we're on track. And yes, the goal is to get on track and to be able to cite very specifically, here's where the gaps are and here's where the areas are. So that is very much the intent. And I do believe that there's a lot of rapid pace happening at the same time, that we're maintaining the other operations. So thank you so much for that question.
Yeah. Next question. Who needs to be in the room for these conversations for the how?
So many of these areas that are on this list are operations, which there's degrees of concern about that because it's only touching a portion of the district. And it's not impacting, like, so what is that going to affect? So I would say everyone is in the room because there are things that are going to impact every area of the organization. And when you look at your 26, 27 reductions also, right, same thing. So I'm looking at them holistically from point A to point B. Many of these areas, right, identify changes to the benefit offerings, reduce overall, that's all of our labor partners, right? Eliminate contracts related to ineffective programs. What's the process for you to determine if a program is effective or not, and who does that? That's everyone. So whether it's this is a high school program we've implemented and we want to reevaluate it and what we're going to do, that's everyone evaluating that. That is not just business services. We don't have the requisite knowledge or expertise about the programs and its effectiveness. Now, your LCAP should indicate where your progress is, and so that would be a great starting point to be able to look at those areas. That's everyone. So when you look at these areas, it is vast, and that's what I'm not sure if that was understood when this was adopted. It's everyone.
Yeah. So I have been doing a lot of processing, as Member Kayada mentioned and Member Benjamin. Last week, we got a good 4 hours of training on budgets and had a lot of really rich conversations. And as we were looking at this upcoming report, I want to establish a board subcommittee where we got two people that are consistently in the room to hear more about that, how to be able to dive in to get those specifics, et cetera. And so I've asked Member Kayada and Member Benjamin if they are interested, because they both reached out about more budget issues. If anyone else is interested on that, feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, I would be the third person popping in as needed. And then we'll have a conversation tonight or tomorrow about your expectations on, are these biweekly meetings, every other week or weekly, what's happening in the meetings, who is in that room, and how do we and then how do you two or three of us report back to the board? Because our next official board meeting is 3 weeks away and we cannot wait that long. So I'm seeing some head nods. Are we liking this idea? Okay. And thank you for Member Benjamin and Member Kayada for being willing to serve and step up and spend a little bit more time, a lot more time, reading these thick documentations. And then lastly, you mentioned that our website was updated in November and we haven't seen one yet. And it's in the idea of how do we communicate effectively with our community and how do we be transparent about what's happening. Do we have a plan on when that website would be updated and how often it would be updated as we go along?
Yes, so I've begun having those conversations. There was already some activities that were in play. One being a dashboard, which started one way, but definitely I see is very community facing. So definitely want to thank our team and my colleague Tim for the visioning about how we can bring that to fruition and how fast, while at the same time making sure we're protecting the district and its data. So that's something like very close and forthcoming, so that therefore not only leaders who are responsible programs, school site, but also community and family can really look at what is the budget at my school and what is that resource that we talked about in my SSC and how much did we spend, what was the plan, and where are we? So things like that. The update, there does need to definitely be a fiscal solvency and sustainability website, as well as a written plan. So again, this is great, but you need more verbiage and words, to describe like what the plan is, because that's what brings life to this list of things. It's how are you going to plan it? So even that reduced future year program costs, there's a lot there to talk about. What program costs are you talking about? What programs are you talking about? And what also, do you have the political will? And do you have the comfort to move forward with? But it should be all on the table. And it should be a discussion to kind of see where that progress is. So that's an area. Back to homework. What programs are we talking about that have popped up or that we want to discuss? there isn't a coinciding list that went with this section, if you will. That would be an example of something that we would need to talk about. It's on the list, but we need the list to go with the list and then what the strategies are. So
I'm really captured by your word operationalized. Just, it really, I think it codifies, yes, we have all these ideas we have discussed, but the how is very much missing. That gap is incredibly problematic. And the idea of operationalize, how do we approach this methodically, systemically, with clarity and communication and transparency? And usually you want to go slow to go fast, and we have to go fast because we've lost our slow time.
Yeah.
So how do we do all of that as quickly as we can? I want to start by saying, or end by saying, congratulations on day 9 of your working with us and having this tough conversation. One of the things that I've said, I think I said this in December, when you come into Sac City and you start learning, because I've been here 3 years. I'm a teacher, I've been teaching 20 years, but I've been here 3 years. And you start learning things, it's really easy to want to feel like, ooh, I want to just point fingers like, how come you previously did not address this? Because now, and the truth is, we all need to be on Team Sac City. Every single one of us has to be on Team Sac City. And where you need to point your finger is me. I have a role, I have a responsibility. What have I been doing that has contributed to the situation we are in? Because if I fix me and everyone fixes them, we can make this happen together. And if we don't, we're headed to state receivership.
Absolutely. And life is very different on the other side of the dais.
It is.
And so, right, it's you don't know what you don't know until you get to this place. But again, I think it's the opportunity is there to work collectively with those areas and to address those traditionally what were disenfranchised areas after, a slew of money with LCFF and then some other one-time and ongoing money. I am left as, a accounting finance professional with why is that? Because before, right, 2007, 8, 9, it was we don't have enough money. The money came, this issue is about how you spend it. It's about what you've prioritized and what you are willing or not willing to do to balance it. So that's really where the root of it is. It's not the money, it's how we spend it. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, we got good work to do.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to 10.2, approve our traditional school calendar for the 26-27 school year. Welcome.
Hi. Good evening, Board President Jean, Superintendent Allen, members of the board. Good evening. I'm Dan Shalek, your Director of Employee Relations, and I'm here tonight with Chief Human Resources Officer and Lead Negotiator, Concy McCarn. We are here seeking approval of the traditional academic calendar for the 2026-2027 school year. Just a brief recap. We started this journey with a negotiated agreement with SCTA in which we laid out provisions and said that we would do these things, and if we did these things that we would come back and seek approval from the board. And some of those highlights of those things were a lot of engagement from our community. We did so with parents through Parent Square and community forums at schools, Student Advisory Council, and of course working with our, getting feedback from our labor partners. And having done those things, you recall we came on the 20th of November and sought approval, which you granted for us to go and actually do the work on what that calendar would look like. Just a few highlights of what we believe are the benefits of this change is finals happening before winter break, right? Reduced learning loss and more relaxation. Our students are able to really take winter break and be done. equal opportunity for learning time to prepare for advanced placement and IB testing. The ability for our students to take summer classes at community colleges without school year overlap. Earlier access to available summer jobs and internship programs, and I really believe this is really just access on par, I think, with other students. So this will really help with that. Better alignment with the California Interscholastic Federation calendar for our athletes, so that our athletes will be able to prepare better, and not leastly, to be more closely aligned with surrounding districts. This calendar represents the work that we have done with your staff and in partnership with the community and in partnership with our labor partners, in alignment with what our agreement said, where we said that we would seek a new academic calendar with a mid-August start date and an end of May end, with the first semester ending before the winter break. You see that we have students starting the first day of school on August 11th and the last day of school on May 27th. We have had the opportunity to space breaks in places that they weren't before. For instance, in October, we have a non-instructional day there, and although it's not a day off for staff, we thought it was appropriate. We placed it on Indigenous Peoples Day. So there's a lot of benefits and times for students to be with their family, and for us to do other important things with our staff during that time as well. Our recommendation is to approve this. We think it's a wonderful change for our system and for our students, and we are absolutely happy to answer any questions that we can at this time.
Thank you so much. Do we have any public comment?
We have one speaker, Terrence Gladney.
Welcome.
Hello again. No, this isn't a financial item, but I did want to thank Ms. Dawson-Brown for much necessary clarity, but urgency around, again, just the processes. It's kind of funny because this is an attendance item, but it really reflects the things that you guys are now reflecting that we on this side of the dais have advocated for, right? Lack of transparency, lack of pre-availability of materials for a board meeting. Those are things that you guys can actually control through governance. We've asked for you guys to create subcommittees for clarity and access to the conversations that are happening around these very critical things. Way back in 2013, when April and myself were on the first LCAP PAC, we looked at our school calendar and said, and we had discussions about our lack of alignment with the state funding cycle back in 2013. And how it set us up for failure because conversations and dollars were flowing in before our students were starting, and the dollars were flowing in before we as the LCAP PAC could meet. 2013, we talked about starting the calendar to do things like actually truly honor students. We fell into this calendar because of the strike, right? Lily Williams, my PTA mentor, always said, you know, SUSD, always reactive, never proactive. Right? We fell into this calendar, even though people were talking about this very same thing 13 years ago. And this is not about students. This is about just where we kind of are, and let's, again, continue to do what we've been doing for the last 2 years. You guys have an opportunity through governance to require more extensive, holistic, comprehensive LCAP and LCAP PAC presentations and inclusivity that reflects the actual priorities of where those dollars are supposed to be spent, right? We're now talking about open enrollment, although I've stood at this very space multiple times talking about how it impacts middle schools, elementary schools across our district. Whether we fell into it or not, it is an opportunity for you guys to demand these things because you guys set the temperature and the climate for the entire district. So yes, what you guys are receiving isn't just. I can empathize because we've been in that same space. So if you guys do want true community support and input on how we've been able to survive the same things you guys are now supposedly experiencing, you know, you have a community and a team of people on this side that are willing, again, to continue to do the work. And to what Ms. Dawson Brown said, it's only, and what you said, it has to be all of us together. Again, to honor Malachi, 50 years plus of seeing the same thing, but yet he still believed, right? But now is the time that we actually have to honor not only his service, but also what we know is possible. So thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Board discussion. Member Ibarra.
Thank you for this well put together presentation. I will personally say that this is something I do support, and as my great friend over here, Terrence Gladney, just mentioned, it's something that I've advocated for many years. The one thing I do want to highlight and share here is the growing pains through this process. And I think it's something that I want to note, because as we're talking about systemic change, I just want to bring light to it. It was very clear from our constituents and community that the way the survey was rolled out did not feel like it was a truly equitable process, where they felt like their voice would actually reflect what they wanted it to reflect as they gave their responses. Now, I don't believe that staff did that intentionally. I believe that there was a lot of good positivity around pushing this survey based on the conversations that I had with staff and the meetings that I attended as we engage with community. But I do want us to be conscious of how we present these kind of things that we're rolling out, especially with the climate right now. And so that's why I'm bringing it up here in this space, not to take away from, I think, the great way we recovered from that and responded quickly to give our constituents the ability to give us meaningful feedback. So I'm grateful that we were able to act quickly and do that. But I just want us to really reflect on this process as a whole moving forward, and really be mindful of how we present this information in those spaces, and also how we are giving access to maximize really authentic feedback when we're asking for that information. So those are just my comments that I wanted to share this evening.
Thank you. Member Singh.
Thank you. Thank you, Member Ibarra, for bringing that up. I think there was a lot of growing pains around the survey itself, and I also want to acknowledge that there are a lot of folks who are having a tough time coming to terms with the fact that we are leaning towards and likely approving this change in our calendar, including a lot of emails and messages we've gotten from community. But I think the reasons listed here and the work that we did of community conversation and discussions do give us a lot of clarity and give me a lot of hope and support that we're making the right decision. And for those who are not in full agreement with where we're going, please understand that we're looking at this from a holistic measure to improve the district, align ourselves, create better outcomes for kids, athletes, and everyone else involved. And it's come with a lot of work, so I appreciate the work that you all put in, and hopefully we can move this forward tonight.
As a teacher, I can say no one ever agrees on the calendar. And thank you for pointing out the October break. If you actually look at student absences, the October tends to be a space that gets hit hard, and depending on where spring break is hit, it's either the March or the April. And so the importance of building things into our calendar to say we understand you need those breaks, so please attend school when we're open, is really important. So I'm excited that that was part of this as well. And with that, I will entertain a motion, or is this a roll call vote? No, okay. I will entertain a motion. Moved by Member Singh and seconded by Member Ibarra. All in favor? No, roll call. Student board member.
Aye. Member Jean?
Aye.
Member Kayada?
Aye.
Member Benjamin?
Aye.
Member Navarro?
Aye.
Member Rhodes?
Aye.
Member Singh?
Yes.
Member Ibarra?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, moving on to 11.1. Determination hearing for charter renewal for California Montessori Project, Capitol Campus.
Who is standing here?
Welcome. Yes, tall people moved it up for you.
There you go. I can see your face now.
I'm a little under the weather, so I will try to talk loud. Tell me if you can't hear me. Hello, board. Today we are here for hopefully the final renewal of the year, and to our 11th to date. So Good job. We are here for the determination hearing for the charter renewal of the California Montessori Project Capitol Campus. There we go. We're going to do, as we do, we're going to split the time between myself and the CMP folks. We'll have time for public comment and then board questions and discussion. The board must take action tonight on the petition for the renewal of the end of this item. We followed our timeline. You will notice it was a little longer than normal. We extended, by mutual agreement, we agreed with CMP to extend the timeline 30 days to allow us to come to this board meeting and not the December board meeting, because the December meeting was a little full. So we made some agreements to make that change. CMP Capital is in the high renewal tier. That means that for the last 2 years, including the most recent one, they have either been in the blue or green category in all dashboard indicators, or they have outperformed the state for all significant subgroups. And that is true both for 2024, 2025. It was also true for 2023. So they are clearly in the high renewal category. The assumption for the high renewal tier is a renewal anywhere from 5 to 7 years, and that's a decision you all can make if you want to do a 5, 6, or a 7. We reviewed their petition. We found no conditions for non-renewal in the petition or supporting materials. One thing that CMP is requesting as a material revision that staff support is they are requesting a change to their lottery preferences. CMP has struggled for many years with meeting the sort of demographic balance of the surrounding neighborhoods. And you can see there in their enrollment, like the little arrows that the numbers next to them are our numbers. Right. So you can see English learners and socioeconomically disadvantaged students are much lower percentage at CMP, though their students with disabilities are quite a bit higher than ours. And we did all the things. We worked through all the reasons that this might be the case, and one of the barriers that we found, or that they found, was that their already approved lottery preferences included a preference for students with previous Montessori experience, but previous Montessori experience when you're entering in TK means preschool, and there's no public Montessori preschool. So that was significantly skewing what their lottery results were. So they are proposing to tick that down and insert a residency preference for students that live in the attendance area around that school, with the hope that this will kind of change that balance a little bit and open up the program to a wider variety of students. Next steps, should the board vote to renew, we have operations MOU already ready for you if you want to approve that tonight. The biggest part of that is CMP's update of their LCAP, and what I want to say is CMP has a great strategic plan, and we're working on the details to make it match the format and all sorts of things. But please don't think that CMP is not doing that. It's a lot of details. And we're going to continue to monitor the transition of their SELPA and the outcomes of this lottery change. The law says, again, that a high-tier school will be renewed as long as none of those conditions for non-renewal exist. And again, we believe that none of those conditions for non-renewal exist, and they are eligible for a 5, 6, or 7-year term. When we get to the necessary language, I have language here. Should you vote to approve, I have that language here, but you will need to tell me 5, 6, or 7 years. And similarly for the MOU, if we want to then also have a motion to approve the MOU, it will be the same length as the charter. With that, I will hand things over to Matt Taylor.
Make this a little bit taller. Good evening, everybody. It's great to see you all. I'm Matt Taylor. I'm the executive director of the California Montessori Project, here with Candace LaMarche, who is our chief operating officer. So we're here to answer any questions you might have about our program. But I just wanted to do a quick review of who we are. Our mission statement is that to provide a quality tuition-free Montessori education that challenges our students to reach their full potential. We are one of the largest Montessori free, tuition-free public schools in the state and in the country, actually, of providing Montessori in a public context. So it's a big feather in the cap that Sacramento has such a great, robust system like this. Our learning environment, those of you that have visited us, and you're all welcome to come visit, you'll see kids on the floor, on their rugs that you can see here, with our comprehensive academic development program using Montessori curriculum. Field learning is a huge part of what we do. Students are out in doing field trips, connecting out in the world, and we have a social development program that really addresses the whole child. All of our teachers, we strive to have them be dual credentialed, so they're California credentialed, and then when they come to us, then we also pay for them to get their Montessori credentials so that they can have both of those credentials to teach. We also provide a credentialed teacher and an instructional assistant in every classroom. It's part of the Montessori method. And then we're a full inclusion model for special education. And as Dr. Goldman mentioned, we have almost 22% special ed students in our program. So we make sure that that's a fully inclusive model for our students with special needs. And as Dr. Goldman mentioned, we also do enroll a larger percentage of SPED students, but also a smaller percentage of English learners. And that's something that when I took over as the superintendent less than a year ago was, let's figure out how we can change these demographics at our schools. And the lottery jumped out at our team as kind of an area we could make changes. And so that's what we've proposed in this charter. So we're making some changes around our advertising practices as well as our enrollment lottery. We want to make sure that we are getting the word out about our program. We're not trying to expand enrollment. We're trying to just change that pool that makes it into our lottery so that all students, all parents can hear about us. So we've been running ads on Spotify, trying to reach out to all different demographic groups and all different communities, but also running ads with the Spanish language media. And then we're going to be doing a lot of informational meetings at nearby apartment complexes and multifamily dwellings to make sure that we've reached out to everybody that's in our neighborhood rather than just relying on word of mouth. And another part that Dr. Goldman mentioned was revising our LCAP. So we will be revising our LCAP this June based on our new strategic 5-year plan. That strategic plan ends at the end of this year. So we'll be revising that plan and working closely with the SCUSD staff throughout those revisions. We've talked with Dr. Goldman about that a lot. Quick update on the academic performance, which is super exciting for us. So on January 7th, so last time we were here, we had predicted where we were going to be based on our academic data. We kind of had a pretty good sense, but the state released its charter school performance data file on January 7th, 2025, and we were once again officially in the high performing category. Sorry, 2026. How many days ago was that? 8 days ago, that was released, and we were identified by the state again as a high-performing charter, which makes us eligible for a 7-year renewal. So we are very excited about those academic performances. And we respectfully request that the board approve a 7-year renewal. We do believe that it would provide stability as we continue to implement these improvements. It will continue to strengthen our partnership with SCUSD. It also maintains continuity for our families and allows for the continued oversight that Dr. Goldman and her team do every year, coming back and helping us improve. So we do want to reaffirm our commitment to that continuous improvement and making sure that we are serving all students that want to join us. And our application process is open right now. It started 2 days ago, and we've already had hundreds of applications for students that want to attend our school. And so we're really excited for the next, hopefully, 7 years of partnership with SCUSD. And I want to just take a minute to invite you all out. If you haven't seen Montessori in action, we'd love to show you around the school. And that is all we have.
With time to spare. Yes. Do we have any public comment?
We have one speaker, President Jean. We have Jenna Westbrook. Jenna Westbrook Klein.
Welcome.
Thank you, President Jean, Trustee Superintendent Allen. It's so nice to see you again. Thank you for having me. I'm Jenna Westbrook-Klein, the Vice Chair of the CMP Governing Board. I'm here tonight to support our charter petition and to respectfully ask the board for a 7-year renewal. I was thinking about, like, what do I want to say about why I want that? And I think it's because our teachers and staff work so hard every day to provide our students with a holistic, peaceful, and academically rigorous education and learning environment. And that shows in our results. And I would love to see that validated for them, as well as for our leadership team, all the way from our deans of students to our executive director, show continuous commitment to that continuous improvement, equity, and accountability. So, you know, we are part of SUSD's ecosystem of schools, and I think we play an important role in that because we provide a choice for a free, public, American Montessori Society and WASC accredited Montessori education. So I look forward to our continued partnership. As Matt said, any of you are welcome to visit at any time. I will rearrange my schedule to be there. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Board discussion. Member Ibarra.
I just want to pause and highlight that I appreciate, I know you all have presented to us before and I've made commentary, but I just want to take a moment to highlight the communication that's happened between Jenna actually and myself. And then there was a clear, in our communication, there's a clear want from both ends to really build a partnership and change the narrative of what it looks like between us as a governing board and our charter schools, specifically the ones that are thriving, so that we can really create that partnership and talk about what are we doing as a district that we can be doing different, and how can we learn from you all while also supporting the work that you're doing to serve the students that we clearly have underserved, or by choice they want this program, right? So I want to lean into that moving forward after today, but I really support the idea of entertaining the 7-year renewal, mostly because of the report that we got. It speaks for itself. And so the fact that this is a free program that's a highly sought after, and they're doing so well, just speaks for itself. So those are my comments for this evening.
Member Singh.
So I think we've spent a lot of time having a lot of conversations about our charter programs, and you know, some have not been the most fun conversations recently, but I think it's important to highlight when the conversation can be uplifting and impactful and powerful. So I appreciate the presentation, the packet, everything was great. And I think it's always great to see folks actually following through with what we're seeking here. We have a job of oversight. And I think this board takes that very, very seriously, as hopefully folks have seen. And in that same seriousness, we can enthusiastically support things as well. I also want to mention the same thing that I've at least been to the parking lot of CMP. All right, I haven't been inside, but we held a Measure D walkathon around the neighborhood, and just the welcoming feeling, the decision to be involved in seeing your school truly as a public school in that sense, and wanting to improve our school sites collectively was a really good sign that folks are really buying in to the overall public school system, and part of the atmosphere and belonging that you're going to be part of here in Sac City Unified. So I agree with Member Ibarra, and hopefully we are able to entertain something that indicates our strong support here.
Member Kayada.
Superintendent Taylor, love your name.
Changed it just for this.
Yeah. You're really fighting hard to get my vote. Yeah. I just want to congratulate you on your metrics, and I also want to thank you as a member of our shared community for identifying the areas that you have to work on and really leaning into that to really make your school accessible for the students of the city. Yeah, I think, obviously, it's no secret we have one charter that we did not approve recently, and they're next week appealing to the county. I think maybe there's some narrative around that Sac City is skeptical of charter schools, or we don't want to support them. It's far from the case. I think what I've seen from all 7 of us here and our staff is that we view our charter schools as an extension of our school district. This is not something that we just stamp and send it off and let you guys do your thing. We see your students as our students. And the partnership that I'm seeing from the presentations you gave about your renewal convinces me that you share that. So I think, we have a lot of bad press written about this district. I would support a 7-year renewal, and I hope that that's a story that we can write, that we are a district when our charters are doing well, when they are serving our students in ways that we can't, and when you're hitting your metrics, we fully support you. And thank you for the service you're doing for our students.
So the one question I have is for you. We haven't really entertained a 7-year before. So what does it look like in our partnership year to year to ensure that we don't see something change in a problematic way, because we don't want that, right? The goal here is to relieve everybody of a little bit of work by saying, you got 7 years, keep doing what you're doing, but we want to make sure that that is happening. So what would be your process in that?
So the oversight process doesn't change. We're still going to do all the things every year that we do. We're just going to not stop in 5 years and have this moment, and we'll just continue for a couple more years. I think, I was wondering, I was thinking to myself, do I have an opinion on this? And I don't have a strong opinion on the number of years. More time until we have to do this process again is good for the budget in lots of ways, because it's expensive to do a charter renewal. But, CMP is taking on the goal of changing their student body. The reality of that is that their outcomes will change for a little while. And I think that it's appropriate if they're saying, we are willing to do the work to try to serve a broader population, to give them the space to do that. That change won't go into effect until a year from now anyway, so we're looking at 2 years before they even start to see the outcomes of that. And then we're at another year, and then we're at renewal data again. So I think there is value in giving them, I think I've used this phrase before, like a longer runway, because we're asking them to do something harder. And they're welcoming that with open arms.
Beautiful. My only other question was, it sounds, did I hear this right, and this could kind of go to either of you, that you do have a great strategic 5-year plan. It's just not entirely in the way the state wants the LCAP to be written. So what we're working on is putting it into the language that's required by the state. Not that we have concerns that anything is missing. Okay.
No, this is something, frankly, it's taken me a little bit longer to get everybody on, that's a big ask. And so we work very closely with the county and Kathy Morrison, and we're going to get it there by the end of the year.
Yeah, I understand, teacher, I totally understand. The paperwork part of it makes it fun. All right, with that, I will entertain a motion.
I'll move.
Sorry, I think Member Benjamin is.
No.
No?
Fine, I'm ready.
You're good. Okay, he was ready to vote. I apologize.
He's going to second my
Who's making
motion.
the motion?
I'll move.
All right, we need a specific here. So if we go, can we go back to the slide?
Yep,
Can you
that's
please
I
read
will,
that and include the number of years you're proposing, Member Singh?
I got to read this whole thing?
You do.
Just the underlined part.
I already raised my hand, so
He
here we
thought
go.
he wasn't president, his life got easier, and then he makes the motion.
All right, I'll approve with condition. No, is that what I'm doing?
No, start with motion.
Where is this?
Right there.
Yes.
Underline stuff.
Sorry, I've totally forgotten now that I'm not in that middle seat. I don't know what to do. I don't even know how to do anything anymore. Thank you, Vice President Ibarra, or second, I'm not sure what we are. All right, motion to adopt the findings in the staff report and approve the resolution 3545A to approve the material revision and renewal of the California Montessori Project Capital Campus Charter for a term of 7 years.
Thank you. It was beautifully done, beautifully read. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Member Kayada, and a roll call vote, please.
Member Jean?
Yes.
Member Kayada?
Yes.
Member Benjamin?
Yes.
Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rhodes?
Yes.
Member Singh?
Yes.
Member Ibarra?
Claro que sí. Yes.
Congratulations. Go do good work.
And the MOU.
Oh, the MOU. Yes.
One more.
Do one more slide?
No, just one more motion.
Oh, okay. Are you moving this, Member Kayada?
Yes, I am moving that we also adopt the operational MOU before March 1st, 2026.
With a 7-year renewal in there as well.
Yes.
Meaning it's the same. Yes, okay. Do we have a second? Member Ibarra. And is this also a roll call? Okay. Madam Superintendent.
Member Jean.
Yes.
Sorry, my mic. Member Kayada.
Yes.
Member Benjamin.
Yes.
Member Navarro.
Yes.
Member Rhodes.
Yes.
Member Singh.
Yes.
Member Ibarra.
Yes.
All right, congratulations again. Go do good work. Moving on to 11.2. Oh, our favorite, some policy. We have some first reading of our revised board policy 5123, acceleration, promotion, and retention. Welcome.
Good evening, President Jean and board members. I'm Erin Findley, Interim Chief Academic Officer, and joining me here this evening is Kari Loafing, our Coordinator for GATE and Advanced Placement Programs. We are here to present to you the first reading of Board Policy 5123. This policy is related to acceleration, promotion, and retention. So in order to get us here to this first read, we had a lot of discussion internally, and we also worked with F3 to evaluate the revisions, recommend the edits, and ensure that we are aligned to appropriate ed code. So the most important updates to note here is that in addition to aligning to the relevant educational code, we also did an analysis between what should be in the board policy versus what should be in the administrative regulation. And so some of what you'll see in the red lines is that we moved things out of the board policy and into the administrative regulation. As is standard practice, the board approves the policy and the staff moves forward with the administrative regulation. So we are bringing the board policy tonight. We wanted to provide some additional clarity about student eligibility for retention or acceleration, and wanted to ensure that families are a part of that very important decision making. And that is all we have to share with you. So we will open it up for comments and questions.
Do we have any public comment?
We do not.
Do we have board discussion? Member Kayada.
All right, Aaron asked me to keep this brief, so I will keep it brief. That was supposed to be into something nice. She said it's such a good policy, we don't need to belabor it. I'm putting words in your mouth now.
I did not say that. I did not say that, for the
Okay.
record.
I'm going to rewind. This went off really badly. I also am red right now. Okay.
He might be redder than me.
I do start by default very red in general because I'm always sunburned. Okay. I will start because I didn't say anything yet by thanking you all for your hard work on this. This is an example of how the board's policy committee works very well. Staff spent a lot of time having a very robust policy that really did meet the ed code requirements, did really recognize where we are now in 2026 and how we function and meeting state law. And then, when we first had this move through the policy committee, there were some issues that I identified that maybe we didn't go far enough in making it clear what our family's relationships are to retention and acceleration. And so we met, the three of us, and made some really good changes, I think, that would clarify the role that the family can have in this process, consistent with what we're allowed to do under ed code. And so I hope, if people take a look through this, that they see that we recognized that families, not just the teachers, should be involved in deciding if their child should be retained or advanced, and that they should be able to bring those decisions up to the school, and that we have a system that recognizes the various reasons that some individual student might want to be retained, advanced, et cetera. So appreciate the good work. I think we've got a great policy here. I think we go about as far as we can go under the ed code to recognize all the unique circumstances and situations that play into this, while of course recognizing that in general we want our kids to move forward. Sorry, I am ready to move this whenever we are.
Well, it is only a first read, so I don't think we're doing anything. Okay. I mean, unless you really want to, but I'd rather us get used to the first and second read. Great, we're going to go to second read. Is there anybody else who would like to make comment? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And moving on to 11.3, provide a public hearing for and approve resolution number 3544, resolution to convey a public road easement to City of Sacramento for roadway extension of Manor'side Drive, Sacramento, California at John Still K8. I think you make them long so you can walk all the way
It's
forward.
a mouthful, yes.
Yes, thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, Superintendent, Board President, Board members. I am here for a quick item. Education Code Article 15 requires that we provide a public hearing for any time the district wants to grant an easement to another public entity. Tonight, in this case, we want to grant an easement to the City of Sacramento for a sidewalk on the backside of John Still for the development that is taking place there. As such, I would request a public hearing. After that public hearing, I would ask that the board approve that easement. Thank you.
Do we have any public comment?
We do not.
Board discussion? Oh, I need to officially. This concludes the public hearing. All right, board discussion. Very exciting. All right, I will entertain a motion.
I'll move.
It's been moved and seconded. Our student preferential vote?
Aye. Member Jean?
Aye.
Member Kayada?
Aye. Member
Benjamin?
Oh, he had this.
Oh, sorry. Member Benjamin, aye, no, yes? Member Navarro? Member Navarro?
Oh, sorry. I heard it bio for some reason. I don't know why. I did too. Yeah.
Member Rhodes?
Aye.
Member Singh?
Aye.
Member Ibarra?
Aye. Did we get the giggles? At least I've got the giggles. We have three options. I know or yes. What do you got? All right. Welcome. 12.1, SPED, unauthorized contracts. Big conversation here. Thanks for bringing it to us.
Not something to giggle about.
No, definitely not.
All right. Good evening again. I am back with to present agenda item 12.1, requesting the approval of 14 unauthorized contracts for special education services. Just a reminder, as we look at the why behind these contracts, it comes down to a fundamental tension balancing student need, labor collaboration, and the business process. When those three don't align perfectly, we are legally obligated to prioritize our students. And a reminder that failure to provide services is simply not an option. To provide some context, when we brought the last group of unauthorized contracts before you in November, we anticipated that we would not have many more to present moving forward. Because we have implemented more rigorous tools, including a stricter invoice review process and quarterly tracking, we have identified and are seeking to remedy these remaining issues this evening. While it results in more items tonight, it is a direct sign that our oversight systems are indeed working as intended. To break down the numbers from fiscal year 24-25, we have approximately $586,000 in services for approval this evening. The majority of this, just over $400,000, was for extended school year aids funded by the Expanded Learning Opportunity Program, and another $184,000 for non-public school services that were provided in June. These were received and identified after the close of the 24-25 fiscal year closeout. On these slides, you will see the vendor service, or the vendor, the type of service, the amount, the reason, and the funding source. And the UACs are categorized by type of service. So we have aids for non-public schools during extended school year. Non-public schools in June of 2025. I apologize. Extended school year one-to-one aids. One outlier for an IEE that was requested, We also have legal services. These were for professional learning sessions provided to our administrators, and unfortunately, these invoices were sent by the vendor within 30 days of services, but they were sent to a single employee that was on leave, and they were not forwarded to special education for payment, and so we uncovered them this year and need to pay them. From fiscal year 25-26, we have approximately $32,000. This includes physical therapy services that were initiated to cover vacancies before an MOU was finalized. We have since ended this practice of physical therapy assistance because we do have an MOU and contract in place for physical therapists. In summary, these 14 contracts total $619,000. $70.73. You can see here the breakdown in terms of how they will be funded. Each represents a mandated service. Aside from the legal services, each represents a mandated service that was provided to a student in real time. Our goal remains to eliminate these occurrences, and our commitment to you is that our improved fiscal tracking will continue to bring transparency to these gaps whenever they occur, and we can discuss them with you. And that is all we have.
All right. Are there any public comments on this item?
There are not.
Okay, I will open it up for board discussion. And hopefully Tara will get back here because I don't know how to use this thing.
Member Rhodes.
I just have one question. You said that you would come back to us whenever these gaps occur. Could you give me an instance where you think that the gaps would occur again?
Well, I don't anticipate any gaps occurring again, thanks to our fiscal oversight process and that we have MOUs in place and contracts in place for the year. The only place where I'm seeing that there might be a potential gap again is when we have services that the invoices come in at the end of one fiscal year and need to be paid for in the following fiscal year. And so that's something that we actually just had a meeting with Lisa Grant Dawson and our special education team to talk about some of the challenges that we have when it comes to special education budgeting in order to prevent these types of things from happening in the future.
Okay, and then you just make sure I'm clear. You also said this is the last grouping of unauthorized payments going out that you're bringing to the board. So you're saying we should not expect to see any more unauthorized things like this for the rest of the year. That what you're saying?
So when we were here in November, we said that we had hoped that was it, right?
I remember.
And we started digging and digging to try to uncover them. And so what staff has done is gone through every contract, every invoice to ensure that we have received those invoices from last year and are able to pay them. I would like to stand up here and say absolutely there will be no further unauthorized contracts that crop up, and I don't feel confident in being able to say that until we are in lockstep with our partners in business services to ensure that we have sealed up every possibility for a gap, and we're still working through that.
Yeah, thank you for the acknowledgement. November, that's what I'm saying. November, it was like the last, and right now it's the last. And I think that you also brought up that you're also not even sure if this is the last because you're going to work to figure it out. I'm just saying it needs to be the last.
I agree.
Yeah, thank you for that. But I'm saying, just saying, it like literally needs to be the last. These, and I don't want this space to be where now, because we've made it a couple of times the norm that all we have to do is bring it back to the board and publicly talk about the unauthorized purchases, and then the board will just approve the unauthorized purchases. That doesn't change the habits, right? And so for the system, I just want to caution, once again, against that. We oftentimes fall into practices and they become the norm or they become commonplace for us. But we can't make this the commonplace. And so this is no like attack or anything on you or what you're doing. It's just the acknowledgement of the expectation, I guess, what we want to see going forward, what I would like to see going forward. Other than that, thank you for the presentation and look forward not to seeing this again. Thank you.
Agreed. And I just to respond to that, coming here and presenting these to the board is not this is all we have to do in order to get it approved. None of us want to come up here and do this ever. So it is not a thing that we take lightly coming back. So know that we agree and acknowledge that.
I appreciate that.
Oh, yes.
Good evening again. Just wanted to add a technical component. You say you want to know, you say you want to understand. There's a big part that's missing that I think just diplomatically wasn't shared. This year, uniquely, the Business Services Division issued an earlier date for all invoices to be submitted in order to be included in the year-end close process. So when you're hearing that there's work and services that were done in 24-25 through June, in order for us to account for those items, the services must be rendered by June 30th or the products received. Services rendered or products received for us to include them in that fiscal year end close. So the date that was provided was we need all invoices by July 3rd, 4th. So that's not reasonable for us to receive invoices by July 3rd or 4th for a prior year, because it means then that there wasn't enough time. So although this is being presented as unauthorized contracts, they actually in effect were contracts that were in effect in 24-25, but the invoices were not received in time before we closed the year. Therefore, that's why, and yes, there was an internal issue apparently with where some of the invoices were. So the specificity of your statements about this should be the last time. Part of this shouldn't have happened on the front end as it relates to the cycle time of how you close the year. So do want to make sure that that also is important, that you hear that that normal timeline for invoices to be received would have been August. Right, somewhere around mid-August. So, with that being said, that's also part of the conundrum that, this particular department, especially for services, and they're getting that billing a month later, or 45 days later, if that was the case, that is also the root of why you're seeing these rounds, because by November, December, January, we should have received all the invoices. Is what we accrue them, is what we do when we get them. And so when they come in, we've already accounted for them. So we couldn't accrue them because we didn't know they were coming, but we also cut off the deadline too early. So do want to add that as a process check. Not clear why that happened this year, but it did, and it did affect several other areas.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I look forward to you guys fixing that process so this doesn't come up again next time. Thank you.
Member Kayada.
So there's a lot that really bothers me about this. First is that these contracts are pushing us deeper into the red with each one that we are paying on. Something else that bothers me is that our board direction to staff, and we asked staff to provide this to the community partners they work with, was that this board is not going to be approving any invoices after December 31st. I picked that date, and that was my direction that the board agreed with, based on what Ms. Grant Dawson just said, that yes, some invoices are going to come a little after the end of the fiscal year, but 6 months is enough time to get them all and to get them paid. And so to me, that December 31st date meant something. It wasn't just, let's shoot for this shows the board cares. It was, no, this is really the date. And if it's not in by then, it's not going to get paid. And I think if there is any vendors who somehow are not getting us our invoices when our financial condition is basically national news at this point, It's startling. We exist to provide services to our students. We have to have a budget that allows us to do that. And if we are 7 months after the end of a fiscal year still dealing with previous year issues that's causing us fiscal problems, leading to fiscal distress, we don't exist to pad the pockets of the community partners. We exist to invest in our students, and late invoices like this present a problem. And I don't know if I can ask if you can clarify what the board's legal obligation is with respect to paying these?
It would depend on each contract. Each one might be different. If it's already an executed contract, you may have obligations to pay. If it's not an executed contract, it may be a different analysis.
Okay, so that would be my request then, and other board members may speak as well, but I would say that we will approve any contracts that we are legally obligated to pay, and any that we are not legally obligated to pay because the board has not ratified them at this point, that we do not pay those, as I mentioned at least at 3 board meetings.
Member Ibarra.
Erin, I just want to thank you for this presentation and just your courage in being the one to be the bearer of the news. And I say that because we've now had 3, I would like to say, successful meetings with the board oversight, with Taylor, with the board member Kayada and I, and the team that's been part of that conversation. And the way the information was presented tonight is a direct reflection of you all hearing us and what we kind of want to see out here. So I want to say thank you for that, because that's huge. I also want to, as we're talking about these contracts, not making excuses for anybody, but I will say that as someone who has worked in a nonprofit space that has to invoice a district, sometimes the processes between the two and the calendar year that Ms. Dawson was speaking to this evening don't align, and that's part of the problem. So I appreciate the questions around what our legal obligations are. We also want to ensure that we're not going to hurt the people that have been doing us good in those services throughout the years, and we want to maintain good relationship and standing with them as well. So I just caution that I understand the sense of urgency around our need to have strong oversight, and there does need to be that respect dynamic of what does it mean when a board is giving a directive and where does the gray area lie, right? I understand that, but we do need to be gracious in the process, because there are literally some things that they're not going to speak on that are out of their hands, and we don't want to put ourselves in those legal obligations. So just be mindful, I would say.
Member Benjamin.
And Erin, I want to thank you too, and I want to thank Ms. Grant Dawson too. I think one of the things I took from tonight, from what you were presenting on, is what are the impact statements, right? And there has to be impact statements in every decision we make, right? Because this is how kind of why we're here, because people didn't really look at what the impact of what the decisions would be, right? What's the impact statement? What's the end, right? And so my question is this: I'm looking at this fiscal oversight for special education, right? The processes and the tools in place currently. Can you briefly just go over like the vacancy calculator, invoice review process? That's the one really that gets me, is the invoice review process, right? I think if that's clear and concise and transparent, we'll be able to kind of understand a little bit how these invoices are being created and presented at such a late date, and the quarterly invoice tracking, since these are the new oversight things. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll have Assistant Superintendent Bryan respond to that.
Hi, good evening, board members. When we receive invoices, and we receive many every month, we have implemented a process in place now where each administrator who has the responsibility over that service line or that area of responsibility looks at the invoice line by line to make sure that we are being charged for the appropriate amount of hours, the appropriate amount of days, and the appropriate amount of students. That has revealed some things to us that have caused, in some cases, us to send invoices back to be corrected. And then there's been a lot of discussion about what the process is for that. Do you not pay anything? Do you pay what you know you owe and deduct what might be in error while you work with the company? And that tends to vary vendor to vendor. But we do have a very strict process in place. Reviewing every invoice for every contract is takes a lot of time. And so we are now building time within our leadership staff meetings to make sure we have that time to do that and to make sure that we are communicating with the vendors if there are errors so they can be corrected. Okay.
And can we, is it okay, I don't know, is it okay for us to kind of, how I don't know how deep we can get into that process so we can review ourselves?
I don't know if I understand the question.
So like, I understand the process. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I'd like to see the process. Like, is there an example?
I can give you an example. Perhaps a vendor is sending out a large invoice with many students' names on it, and depending on what kind of support they are providing to that student, they may be off an hour or two. Well, that adds up, and so we deduct that and make sure that it's corrected to the time that the student is in school or that the student received the services as directed in their IEP. If we do find an error, then we go back to the vendor to have the invoice corrected.
Thank you.
Member Ibarra.
I also I want to encourage my colleagues here to reach out to Board Member Kayada and I as these questions arise, as you reflect outside of these meetings, so that we can be a direct voice for you all in the space as we continue to meet with the SPED oversight.
Thank you. Yes. Is there any best practice in the contracts, written in there, what we expect in terms of timeline payment, invoicing, that type of thing?
Yes, it's in the contract.
Okay. So we're letting them know, we need you to get us.
Yes, and one of the challenges that we had last year was around the MOUs and the contracts, and all of those things have to be in place, and so that is why this year the early attention to having MOUs was really important in order to be able to have those fully in place. And so we are in the midst of budget development right now, but when we are finished with budget development, we will be continuing our look into 26, 27 and preparing MOUs and contracts for next year so that we have all of that in place in advance so that we are and along with the tracking process, and what the leadership team is doing and tracking regularly, being able to say, okay, it's been 30 days and we haven't received an invoice from this vendor, we need to reach out and request it so that we are getting it in a timely manner if they haven't yet sent it.
So adding that to our process. Thank you. All right, this is an action item. I will entertain an action.
Well, I'll make my motion. We'll see.
All right, Member Kayada.
So my motion would be to approve all the contracts that we are legally obligated to pay because they've been properly ratified by the board, and to not approve the other ones.
What are the other ones?
Well,
We
that's
don't
something else
know.
that we'll have to know.
Okay.
So I do have a legal question on that. If we don't pay an executed contract, what then? So, sorry, a not executed contract. You said executed contracts are legal requirements, not executed may not be. What happens if we don't pay that?
You have to look at each individual one. So if it's a contract that has not been approved by the board, it has not been ratified, there's no contract, there's no binding agreement to make that payment.
Okay.
May I offer a comment on that? I think it's also important, and to Member Ibarra's point, that many of these vendors that we work with our local businesses, and we rely very heavily on them for the mandated services that they provide to students. And so one of the challenges that we have is balancing this decision that you're going to make with the relationships that we have with the vendors in terms of compensating them and being able to maintain those mandated services for the remainder of the school year.
Okay.
So just to keep that in mind.
Okay. Sorry, I did interrupt the process. So, Member Kayada, can you please restate your motion?
My motion is to approve the payment to the vendors for contracts that have been authorized by the board, and to not approve the payments for contracts that have not been authorized by the board.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay. Is there any further discussion or questions before we go to a vote? Yeah, this is one where I feel like information is super important, so I didn't want to rush the vote.
Yeah.
Member Navarro.
So I'm assuming that the contracts and the invoices are not one-to-one.
No, and in some cases, one of the challenges is that if there was not an MOU in place, we couldn't bring a contract to the board, right? And so I'm not sure which ones that applies to in here, but that's one of the challenges, is that if we didn't have an MOU, we weren't able to get a ratified contract. So there are definitely agencies in here who that will apply to. And I can give you just a small example of that right now, which is the physical therapy assistance for this year. The reason why we are bringing that to you is because the physical therapy assistance, we do not have an MOU that provides for that service to be contracted out. And there was an oversight when the agency started providing, they included physical therapy assistance, and we discovered that and we said, oh, that's not part of the MOU. And so there is absolutely a lot of room for improvement in how we are doing our work around this. I just want us to be cautious about the relationships that we have with these vendors and recognize that as we make the decision, because that will be the case for some of these. I just couldn't tell you exactly which ones right now.
Member Singh.
I want to say this in the most respectful way, and that is, if folks don't have an MOU and they're rendering services that they shouldn't be rendering because we haven't agreed upon them, then it makes it I'm not trying to not balance businesses, but why are you rendering services that we aren't asking you to render, or we have never come to an agreement with you to render? Like, if I'm thinking of this as a business person, as someone who has their own business, as an attorney, I'm thinking, if I didn't sign something, what expectation do I have? There's no legal contract. And I hate to sound all attorney-ish up here, but that's just a fact. So one of those things is, if we're not here to say we don't want to work with you, but if you're going to work with us, have a contract. We hold our own staff to that same standard. We have partners, labor partners, community members, other folks. We had so many folks angry with us around all the nonprofits that we were holding strict requirements around of increasing their insurance requirements, or telling them that they can't work in this district if they don't increase their insurance rates or whatever that was. And I think we all remember that snafu. So we have these really strict requirements when it's community coming in, but then here we're saying let's balance the need for local businesses. The truth is, those folks are more than welcome to come back when those services are required, and we are required to give them, and they have a proper contract. But in the case where we have literally pennies to count, I begrudgingly do have to agree that we should just go through and look at each one. And if someone does not have a signed contract with us, we're not in legal obligation to pay. There's plenty of legal spaces where we end up paying folks all the time in this district. And if there's a place where I can push back, then I would agree to push back.
I understand that. I just want to clarify that my point in saying balancing those relationships is that we are relying on these vendors now for mandated services for students. So that decision could result in us not being able to provide some of those mandated services, which potentially opens us up to further non-compliance issues around IEPs and such. And so I'm not trying to convince you all either way. I'm just trying to share with you as much information as I have so that you can make a well-informed decision about how you proceed.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you made that comment, Erin, because that's kind of where I was going, is that when I think about, for example, my daughter specifically in her IEP, I know that in the beginning of the year, her IEP required services that after our last IEP last week changed. So then I know that that means she doesn't need that service, but that doesn't take away from the fact that other kids probably that haven't had an IEP this year may need new services from those vendors. So I get that piece. I guess my question then would be, in all of this process, are you guys similarly doing that with each individual IEP as they are progressing through the year and updating, so that you can go back and try and recoup some of those contracted services that aren't needed? I know, I'll give an example of something that we do in-house that's not contracted, that we kind of do that with, like the, one of the services that my daughter gets, she just does a check-in with Susie, I forget what the service is called, right? And it goes by hours, right? But at the end of the year, sometimes that doesn't use all of her hours. That doesn't cost us per se because she's one of our employees, so it's not a contracted cost. But similarly, if it were a contracted service, would we be able to go back and say all of those hours that we didn't use, how do we save that? And what does that look like within the contracts that we're doing in this partnership? And I think that as we develop those conversations, we'll be able to then go back and entertain conversations of what does the MO look like with us bringing expectations to the vendors as well as we're binding ourselves in these legal contracts and obligations. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. And that's part of the invoice review process, that reconciliation between services that are being provided and services that are in the IEP, right? Making sure that those match and that we're only being charged for the services that are being provided, that we're not just being invoiced for a chunk because it's a quarter, right? But that every dollar is associated with a mandated service. And so, that should ultimately in the end mean that we don't end up paying that full contract if we're reducing the number of services that we're providing to students and properly reconciling it. Mm-hmm.
And this is to notate, this is one of the things that Janae was speaking to before she left, when she talked about the contracting and stuff. I don't know if you all remember the comments that she made, but this kind of sums up where she was taking that conversation, if that makes sense.
Member Navarro.
So this is my concern, and I don't really know how to decide, right? So I agree with my fellow board members about not paying contracts that we don't have paying invoices that we don't have contracts with. But what you're suggesting, I believe April suggested, is that if we don't pay these contracts, these companies or these providers are not going to want to work with us on mandated services. So first, they could sue us. They might not have grounds to sue us, but they might get upset, right? I mean, they're, okay, well, why are we going to provide, why are we going to help you out? I guess the question is, and I guess you won't really necessarily know until you look at each contract and if there's other providers that can provide that same service for us. So I'm a little concerned there. It's like we're burning bridges. Right, we can potentially burn bridges there where they might not want to work with us, and then we're stuck not being able to provide a service that we need, and now we're going to get sued from those particular families because we're not meeting those obligations now. So it's a really hard decision, and I don't really know how to decide.
I think what you're speaking to is the risk, right?
Yeah,
and
the
there
risk.
are risks on both, no matter how you decide. There are risks. And so the one that you're speaking to is the risk of interrupting services for kids if these agencies don't want to continue partnering with us. And I think, part of the long-term issue on this is that there has been sort of this honor system that when we had the budget reset with our former CBO, was that we needed to stop operating on this honor system, right? And we needed to also honor that we need to have MOUs in place in order to contract out, because that's also a requirement. And that has been something that has come into the last couple of years in terms of the adherence to all of that. And so there's a culture shift that we are really working to try to adjust both internally and with our vendors, so that we are not working on this honor system, that we have all of the things in place in order for services to begin. And I will say that that communication is being regularly communicated to our vendors, and we are still catching up from poor past practice right now. And, I'm not going to make excuses for the poor past practice, but we are still cleaning some of that up. Yeah.
Is there a way we can eliminate this risk by saying, let's pay these contracts, and it'll be the last contracts that we approve that we can pay in this manner? Can staff assure us that we don't have to deal with this again? I guess everyone has mentioned that. And I mean, maybe they're doing this because not paying them is the only way that we can stop this from ever happening again.
Yeah, I understand that. I would, like I said before, I would love to stand up here and say this will never, ever happen again. I am one person, right? And I don't feel comfortable saying it will never, ever happen again. I will just reiterate that it is not anyone's intention to circumvent the process. We want to be able to provide mandated services to our children, that we have gone through the proper channels so that we are not risking those services by not going through the proper channels to ensure that we have them in place.
Thank you, Erin.
Member Kayada.
So, Member Navarro, I appreciate those questions because I didn't get into it, but I was weighing that myself, and I've been weighing it even since I first brought this up, about 4 months ago. I think it's interesting because, as Member Singh mentioned, we are dealing, well, he didn't say this part, but we have public dollars, and every dollar that we're spending that's not spent properly is a dollar that we're not spending on our students. I do understand that these services also are benefiting our students, but we have a lot of cuts that we're making now because of practices that led to this that are going to have an effect on our students. We're trying to insulate them, but it has an effect. When you cut services, there's an effect. I will say to the vendors, to my thinking of how they would operate, by and large, these are sophisticated businesses. We are, hundreds of millions of dollars in our budget. We spend millions of dollars every year on contracts. We're a big dog in town, just to put it plainly. I think that this is not going to turn away vendors from working with us. I think will have the effect of saying, hey, this district cares about oversight of our money. It's accountability. And we need to get our invoices in so that we can budget properly and so that we don't get thrown into fiscal distress, because it is stuff like this that led us here. Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying. I in no way am I saying to anyone that this is an easy thing and that this won't have impacts, but I think this is a message to our staff and the people we work with that we really take this seriously. Yeah, thank you.
Member Ibarra.
I appreciate those comments. And while we take this seriously as a board, I want to kind of reiterate what I hear Erin saying, and that is to be mindful of the risk we are taking in these motions of the legal obligation that's going to hit us with litigation when we are not making those mandated requirements, like meeting those obligations through those IEPs. Right now, I can say we've seen a huge reduction of those litigated cases come through in closed session. With this, we are going to see an increase, whether we like to believe it or not. And I think that that's what Erin is trying to get us to see as we're making a decision of what we're putting to motion tonight. That's all I wanted to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Erin.
Thank you for that. I will, I'll reiterate what I said to Member Singh, which is that it's really not my responsibility to persuade all of you one way or another. I just feel like it's really important for you to understand the risks that we see as staff who are working daily with these vendors. And, we're sharing our experience so that you can make a decision. And I know it's a very tough one, and I don't envy you right now. But I do, it is, it's important to be able to see all sides of it.
And just to be clear, some of those contracts that are more urgent are like around transportation and aids, correct?
Not transportation.
Not transportation anymore?
No, we do not have contracts for transportation. It's
through power? No?
Through what?
Power? We're no longer using that service?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. Sometimes I'm not totally
It's
sure.
okay. No, it's okay. No, I just wanted to make sure that I had a clear understanding of some of the more urgent, like the more dated, like these are used daily, and
right.
we
NPS are non-public schools, right? We have many students who are residing in non-public schools. We have agencies providing one-to-one aids. I'd say that those are the ones that I feel most concerned about.
Yeah.
So
I just want to call them out, because there's a difference between bringing in a third-party contractor who's bringing us extra services that we're requesting because we want them. These are services that we're legally obligated to and binded to through these. IEPs are legal contracts. And that's how I would like for us all to think as we have these conversations. Every time we hold an IEP and ask a parent to sign that, we are asking them to sign a legal contract. And we should have the same sense of thought about that as we're having these conversations, that we are legally binding ourselves to every family, to the services that we are saying we are going to offer, while simultaneously pushing oversight. And so we need to balance that.
Member Singh.
Yeah, we're legally obliged.
So my concerns, actually, this is so much bigger than what we're talking about, and I think that's where this conversation is headed. So I'll say a few comments and get to the vote so we can move this forward. My biggest thing is I am still actually torn on the idea of what's legally obligated, to be very honest with you. I understand IEP's legal obligation. I am torn on this district's idea of who needs to get an IEP and what legal obligation we have. If we have a legal obligation to a child, I would never get in the way of giving them the support that they need. But we have reports that have showcased an increase in our IEPs to students in the hundreds of percents. I don't even have that number in front of me, but it has risen exponentially. We don't suddenly have children who have that many needs of IEPs. Something is changing, something has shifted. The FICMAT report showed that we had folks who are benefiting from providing IEPs because they're the ones prescribing IEPs while also benefiting from it, because it's actually outside vendors prescribing the IEPs. And then, of course, I'm going to write this kid's needs this, this, and this. I mean, let's not say that doesn't happen. Where I'm at with this whole process is that I absolutely understand. I appreciate you explaining what you meant by the needs that we have to get to our children and what that would mean if we take a certain vote tonight on possibly vendors saying, we don't want to work with you. My response in that is simply, if we don't have a contract with you, don't work with us. That's literally my response. If you didn't sign an MOU, what are you doing working with us? We would be looking for every way out if we didn't sign a contract with somebody. So it's just like a real world example. Like, if you did not sign a contract with us, if you don't have an MOU, I think the message we're trying to send, we're not trying to say we don't want vendors. I think the message to staff is, if you're gonna pay somebody, make sure that you signed a contract with them. And if you haven't, probably shouldn't be working with them. And the truth is, I was gonna sway the other way, but the fact, Aaron, that you cannot speak for the entire team and say that this will not happen in the future after Member Navarro is saying, can we ensure that if we just get this done, this won't happen again, and there's hesitation, that concerns me. Because what I'm saying is, okay, can't we just agree that starting tomorrow, every single person we work with will have an MOU, and we can't even say that up here? That's concerning. So in that sense, I tend to agree that we put our foot down and we see what happens. And hopefully that's a message that we get out to vendors, out to staff, that if you get a contract, we're not going to get in the way because it's legally obligated. But I don't see legal obligations here. I see us not following rules and us putting ourselves in bad situations. And the truth is, if we step in right now, we can actually help staff from getting into more bad situations and not spending money that ultimately we don't have. We don't have any money. What are we talking about? We're going to run out of money in June if we don't get our shit together. So I cussed, sorry.
You did better than me, it's okay.
So I just want to move this to a vote because I think that's what we're supposed to do. Hopefully,
Can I,
done with comments.
can Assistant Superintendent Bryant wanted to speak to one thing.
The item for the one-to-one aides during extended school year, that was not only extended school year, that was also ELOP program. Previously, in prior years, the special education department was paying for the one-on-one aides that were for children who had IEPs, who attended a summer school program, an ESY program, or an ELOP program. We met with ELOP and had an honest discussion about equal access, and they agreed to begin to pay for that time for the students because that's enrichment or more of access to general ed. Yeah. And so, but the contracts, the determination that these agencies were going to provide this service was already in place. And so we held the contract for the duration of the summer. When the bills came, they were not disaggregated between the programs, and we had to send them back. That delayed us being able to pay the program. This is and I don't know who ELOP will decide to contract with for next summer, but we do have large contracts, both special education department, if we have to fill in for vacancies, but also the ELOP program so that our students can have access to everything that goes on in the district. And I just wanted to make you aware of that.
All right. Any other comments? A student preferential vote.
I'm staying.
Madam Superintendent.
Member Jean.
No.
Member Kayada.
Yes.
Member Benjamin.
Yes.
Member Navarro.
Yes.
Member Rhodes.
Aye.
Member Singh.
Yes.
Member Ibarra.
No.
And motion passes. Moving on to 12.2, environmental sustainability updates. Welcome. Thank you for hanging on to the end of the meeting.
All right. Okay, so good evening, board members and Superintendent Allen. My name is Chamberlain Segrest, and I am the Environmental Sustainability Manager for Sac City Unified. Okay, here is our core value and guiding principle, as always. So this presentation will focus on fiscal outcomes of the Sustainability Department. I will first detail recent grants, followed by an update on utility bill savings. So we received over $7.6 million in grants in the last year to support our sustainability initiatives. This includes $5.6 million in grants for 14 new EV buses and 6 new charging stations, for a total of 21 EV buses and 21 charging stations at our bus yard, all paid for by grants, meaning no money was taken from the general fund. We piloted a schoolyard forest at Parkway Elementary last year, planting and irrigating 55 trees and adding nature play elements so that students are invited to enter and interact with the forest. We are about to begin construction for 2 more of these forests at Rosa Parks and John Sloat, and will continue to increase pocket forests, outdoor classrooms, nature play areas, and gardens across the district. We want our schoolyards to protect our students from extreme heat while also nurturing their development and growth. So if you haven't heard, Sac City now has solar, which is super exciting. So this will save a lot of money from the general fund by reducing energy use. We will also save a lot of money per year by overseeing monitoring and maintenance in-house. You have to have constant eyes on solar data in order to ensure maximum energy production and consequentially maximum cost savings. So I estimate savings between $2,000 and $30,000 per site per year, depending on the array size, by keeping monitoring in-house. So moving on to utility bill savings. So utilities cost almost $15 million last year, which is one of the larger expenditures from the general fund. So I process all of the utility bill data for our 500 plus accounts, and I monitor for billing errors and strange usage patterns. This reduces late fees. It allows us to catch billing errors and allows us to benchmark performance and look for change in usage. For example, last year, we saved over $700,000 by reducing waste pickups and monitoring for billing errors. We built internal capacity to address missed pickups instead of oversizing, as we had been doing. We also built out our food recycling programs at all sites with a particular focus on elementary schools. So if you haven't been to an elementary school during lunch lately to see the amazing effort put forth by staff and students, then you absolutely should. I also found $91,000 in billing errors from our waste haulers since last year. I also track and monitor our water usage, looking for patterns of excessive use. So this has led to over $20,000 in savings since last year, as Cal American will provide an adjustment for high bills due to leaks that are detected and fixed. And we are reducing energy consumptions and costs through efficiency measures like the LED lighting and solar. I also review data for potential leaks or billing errors, of which I will provide an example. So this is our natural gas usage at Matsuyama Elementary from 2011 to 2022. The x-axis is time and the y-axis is usage. You can see usage increases by more than 800% starting in 2018, but if you don't have anyone looking at that data, you will not catch it. And this is proven true by the fact that the issue started in 2018, but wasn't detected until 2022. So we were paying for gas for 4 years that we weren't using, to the tune that PG&E reimbursed us over $360,000 for this error. I found 2 more misprogrammed meters in 2024, and we were reimbursed another $130,000. And here is another very recent example. So you're looking at Cerna natural gas costs through October of this school year. So the x-axis is time, and the y-axis is cost. And the blue line in this case is last year's data, and the orange line is the current year through October. So as you can see, costs start to escalate in July and deviate from the previous year, right around the time PG&E did meter work for the new generator. So I notified PG&E about this anomaly, and they eventually discovered that the meter had been misprogrammed. They corrected the mistake and reimbursed us over $120,000 for 5 months of billing errors. To sum it up, since July 2024, the Sustainability Department has saved almost $1 million from the general fund through utility bill tracking and analysis. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for your attention. But before questions, I would like to invite my colleague, Chris Ralston, to say a few things.
So I asked her, good evening. I asked her to invite me up, listening in the last couple board meetings. You're asking for us to reflect and report. And you said it earlier, Member Benjamin, what is the impact? So I stood in the back of the room and wrote her impact statement. And I think it's something that you need to allow some extra time for is, one, everything you've seen up there is new. We've had sustainability managers in this district for 15 years. We were one of the first school districts in the nation, and we now are one of the few that still does. It was a funded application program in California back in 2013 and beyond. in Sac City has been paying for it with bond money and routine restricted, not a general fund expense. But she's impacted the general fund by $1 million in 4 years. She doesn't get paid $1 million in 4 years. So I want to make sure that we listen and hear the effort that the employees are putting in facility services, the impact she has. She worries about the entire experience that a child has at this school district. I am the business-minded. If it costs money, it's going to be hard for me to get on board. I love getting money back from utilities. And this is just the way the business has been running, but people are paying bills and they're not looking at them. They're stamping and pushing, and Chamberlain has stopped that process. It's a new process this year, and it sounds like hey, that's pretty basic. Why wouldn't somebody look at the bills? The school district doesn't budget utilities. They just pay as they come in. We've budgeted them in our house the last 2 years, and this will be the first year that Chamberlain is requiring budget services to fulfill that requirement. Now we can track. We know what we're doing. And we were a little offended when it was part of the surprise $12 million extra, that 2.9 was allotted to utilities, overages. It wasn't, because we actually know. We budgeted, we gave them a number 12, 13 months before that. And I think that's an important thing to realize, that there are employees that every day are worrying about what you are demanding us to report to. So while this wasn't a scripted experience, the impact that Chamberlain by herself has had on the general fund, on the experience of the children in this school district, is not going to be established in 13 slides in 5 minutes. We give you a once a year, 5-minute update, and we don't talk about the efforts that are going in every day. She has brought to the attention of a business-minded construction. Hard courts are hard courts. They come with basketball, foursquare, tetherball. She calls them male-dominated play spaces that have not changed since the 1950s. She is not wrong. We now have color and games, that fraction ball, so it's educational. Matsuyama, we tried a reading space that has trees and natural landscaping, and you can just sit and chat and gossip or read. You will see those spaces at Caleb Greenwood. You will see those spaces in every project that we do moving forward. She is responsible for the frontage of Einstein's new landscape, all natural, water savings, no maintenance. That's a savings of about an hour a week just in our landscape. I want to also make sure that her impact is felt tonight, because I have the impact thrusted onto me. Every Tuesday morning, we have our leadership meeting. And every topic we have is, well, hold on a second. We have a sustainability plan, carbon neutral by 2040. How is this going to impact it? How is Matt Jucknowitz in our construction department, we can just put the gas heaters back on the roof and keep going. It's harder to not do that. But she's not giving us the option, because we stood in front of you and gave you a resolution, and we told you that it would not be another cute resolution where we stood here and just took credit for something and then never follow up. Every Tuesday morning, we have to report on it. She reports on it. She holds us accountable in every meeting. Every architect is excited to see her because it's something new and different. That is, I was going to go over all the money part, but I guess she beat me to it. I think it's important that as we stand up here, maybe acknowledging the impact that you're asking for and the effort that is put into that one individual can make a difference in the school district. One individual has made an impact on this school district and its environment. So thank you for letting me provide her impact statement.
Do we have any public comment?
We do not.
And board discussion, Member Singh.
I just want to say thank you because numbers do matter, and I can't articulate as Chris just did. That was great. Wow.
That's her moment, not mine.
I mean, well, you wrote a lot on that piece of paper, so I just, we've had community come up here and talk about environment and impact, and I know that as we're building out these new schools, because we've had the privilege of going to these new schools as they've been inaugurated, and we've seen what we're trying to build in a really messed up climate. Climate change is real. I'll say it. Hopefully that's not a controversial statement. And the point is that you're being thoughtful and mindful, and this is actually really crazy to see things like this. I call PG&E to yell at them about like when I think the meter's broken, they say it's not. But the fact that it actually was in the tune of $120,000 is pretty great. So thank you. I just want to say thank you. I know he did, but at least from the board side, thank you for your work and everything that you do. And thank you, Chris, for reminding us that I'm not here to paint broad stroke, brushes on how this whole place functions. And it's a good reminder to know that there are folks doing amazing work, and I know you are. And just thank you. It's a tough time to be here, but we appreciate your work.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I think about how there's a lot of conversation around the environment and the ways we can change our systems to make an impact on that. And I want to say thank you for the work you're doing to push that work forward. I also just want to add that one of my goals is that we look at our board policy, that it better reflect where we are today with those goals and the work that you are doing. So just be a heads up that that's on we need to update our board policy to-do list. And
awesome.
I'm looking forward to, using your brain and your suggestions as we look at what that needs to look like.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Member Rhodes.
I just want to say the work that you've done has definitely impacted the south side of the city. And you know that I'm a south side guy, and it really means a lot to me because I grew up there, and you're changing the landscape of what our community is used to and what they believe they deserve. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I think that's it. So thank you for ending our meeting on such a wonderful note.
Yes. All right. Thank y'all.
All right. Future board meetings, February 5th, right here, 4:45 starting, closed session, 6:15 open session, and February 19th, same time and place. See you then.